Chapter 886. The walking stick pierced through Zhuge Xiaoxing's chest and came out from his back. The entire process happened so suddenly that no one was able to react in time. Furthermore, no one expected that the highly respected Taoist Yuanda would actually deal such a heavy blow to Zhuge Xiaoxing. "Martial uncle, what are you doing?" Yao Wuji was also shocked by Taoist Yuanda's walking stick. He did not understand what was going on at all. He only knew that a powerful aura came from behind him and sent him flying. When he stabilized his body, he saw such an inconceivable scene. Master Lu and Mu Qinghong were both shocked. They were unable to react in time. No matter how weak Taoist Yuanda's battle prowess was, he was still a crossing tribulation stage. Other than Zhuge Xiaoxing, no one else was his match. Master Lu and Mu Qinghong could only watch as their sect master's body was pierced through by Taoist Yuanda's walking stick. Blood splattered everywhere. Compared to the Yaman attack earlier, it was even more shocking. It was as if a basin of cold water had been poured over their heads, causing them to miss a beat. Sect Master. Master Lu and Mu Qinghong attacked Taoist Yuanda at the same time. Powerful runes surged out, but Taoist Yuanda only snorted slightly, and the two of them were sent flying. I didn't expect it, but I still don't understand. Why do you want to kill me?" Zhuge Xiaoxing's hand grabbed onto Taoist Yuanda's walking stick. He originally wanted to block Taoist Yuanda's walking stick, but unfortunately, he was unable to do so. He had suffered too severe of an injury and had yet to fully recover. "It's not that I want to kill you, but that someone wants you dead." Taoist Yuanda's voice sounded so righteous. It was as if he was looking down at Zhuge Xiaoxing with a tone of eliminating evil for the people. In the name of justice, he pronounced Zhuge Xiaoxing's death sentence. It was so convincing. His tone was the same as the people from the third palace, incomparably sacred. The weakest alchemist and the strongest array master, under normal circumstances, even the crossing tribulation stage Taoist Yuanda would not be able to defeat Zhuge Xiaoxing, who was at the 9th heavenly layer of body integration stage. But now that Zhuge Xiaoxing was seriously injured, no matter how weak Taoist Yuanda's combat strength was, Zhuge Xiaoxing would not be able to stop him. "Puchi!" Zhuge Xiaoxing spat out another mouthful of blood. The blood dyed his clothes red, and it was a ghastly sight. Triple Palace. When Zhuge Xiaoxing saw the white light in Yuanda Daoist's eyes, he seemed to have thought of something. However, he still did not understand why the Threefold Palace wanted to kill him. Shouldn't the Threefold Palace be leading the cultivators against Yaman? Zhuge Xiaoxing struggled to resist the destructive force that was constantly invading his body. If it wasn't for his powerful array techniques, his body would have been torn apart by the crutch. Qi. Taoist Yuanda retracted his crutch, and a bloody hole appeared on Zhuge Xiaoxing's body. One could even vaguely see his beating heart. That heart was somewhat dispirited and had long been severely injured by Priest Yaman. "You missed by a bit." As expected of the sect leader of the Array sect, even if you're seriously injured, your reaction is still so fast. The strength of an Array master has made me see you in a new light. Taoist Yuanda smiled faintly. His smile was very warm. Even if it was killing someone, it seemed to be a matter of course. No matter who saw Taoist Yuanda's smile, they would feel that the person he killed deserved to die. There was no doubt about it. "I didn't expect that after escaping Yaman's assassination, I still missed a step." Zhuge Xiaoxing revealed a bitter smile. Who would have thought that the person who took his life would be the Yuanda Taoist who was revered by all cultivators? Even if this matter was spread out, no one would believe it. His hand drooped down weakly, and his eyelids became very heavy. He was completely exhausted. "You have indeed missed a step. Not only you, even that person just now also missed a step." Taoist Yuanda raised his crutch once again. White Holy Spirit energy gathered on top of the crutch, causing the entire crutch to look very sacred. It was as if it was a sacred artifact used to punish evil and eliminate evil, to cleanse the world of demons and ghosts. The crutch contained a terrifying might. This time, it was aimed at Zhuge Xiaoxing's throat. "No!" Mu Hao roared in horror. However, he was unable to block it. No one could block it. Master Lu and Mu Qinghong were unable to get close. The only person who could save them had already left and went to chase after the two powerful auras in the distance. This time, no one could help them. I like to hear the sound of your throat's bones breaking. Taoist Yuanda laughed. No! Master Lu and Mu Qinghong roared in grief and indignation. Their eyes were about to split. Crack! The sound of the crutch piercing through the bones was crisp and clear. It brought with it a touch of dazzling dark red that splashed out. The white holy light mixed with the scarlet blood light penetrated through the bones and came out, looking incomparably bewitching. In a place far away from the battlefield, Jin Shiyun had already stopped. Shadow Kill Dong Ji's aura had already disappeared. She had once again used a powerful soul technique to lure Shadow Kill Dong Ji away. It was not easy to do so because Shadow Kill Dong Ji was a very difficult opponent. However, there was a murderous aura rushing towards her from behind. She already knew who this person was. The murderous aura. Priest Tu Yumeng had already fled in panic. Then, it could only come from Mu Yu. Mu Yu, you were smart all your life, but you were stupid this time. She stared at Mu Yu's aura that was chasing behind her, and a sense of victory gushed out from the bottom of her heart. Because of the blood shield covering the sky, she could not see Mu Yu's figure. However, she could feel the murderous aura on Mu Yu's body. That murderous aura was firmly floating on her body, and she knew that Mu Yu was not far away. I know you are chasing after me. Jin Shiyun's voice became ethereal again. I also know that you have the domain ability of several demon kings. Although this time, there was an unpredictable accident that led to Yi Fian's death and Shadow Kill Dong Ji's appearance for no reason, which almost messed up her plan. As long as Zhuge Shaoxing was killed, this mission would be considered completed. I understand the domain ability very well. That kind of powerful power is not something that you can fully unleash. How much spirit energy do you have left to kill me? Jin Shiyun could feel the murderous aura. She knew that Mu Yu was waiting for an opportunity to use the last of his spirit energy to kill her. She did not let down her guard. Just now, when Mu Yu was at his peak, she was not afraid, let alone when Mu Yu's spirit energy was exhausted. Everyone says that the disciple of a true god is very talented and intelligent. Jin Shiyun suddenly felt very excited. She knew that Taoist Yuanda had already killed Zhuge Shaoxing, and Mu Yu did not know about this. This was the only pleasure she could get from taking revenge. Gu Chaofeng and Yi Fian had both died in Mu Yu's hands. She had said that she would definitely take revenge. However, you are too smart for your own good. You won't think of the consequences of chasing after me. Jin Shiyun was deliberately stalling for time. She wanted to let Taoist Yuanda kill the rest of the people. Those people were all people that Mu Yu knew and were very important to Mu Yu. After Taoist Yuanda killed everyone, she would tell Mu Yu the truth and let Taoist Yuanda wait for Mu Yu. From the information she had gathered, she knew that Taoist Yuanda and Mu Yu had a close relationship. She really wanted to see if Mu Yu would kill Taoist Yuanda to take revenge for Zhuge Shaoxing and the rest. The murderous aura was getting closer and closer to Jin Shiyun. Although it was blocked by the trees, Jin Shiyun did not panic. I thought that you would be wary of Taoist Yuanda. After all, our threefold palace had invited all the cultivators above the tribulation passing stage in the cultivation world. What do you think the purpose of our invitation is? To drink tea and chat? Jin Shiyun once again let out a pleasant laughter. The reason they had invited all the tribulation stage cultivators was to use the divine soul array to control these people. It was also because of that invitation that they had the opportunity to control Taoist Yuanda. They had even tricked Taoist Yuanda away from Deadwood Evergreen and then assisted Tianbu Y in killing Deadwood Evergreen. The murderous aura in the forest suddenly trembled and released a wave of fluctuation. You are right. The time we controlled Taoist Yuanda was when Deadwood Evergreen died. At that time, it was the master who controlled him personally. To Taoist Yuanda, this was a supreme honor. Now that Taoist Yuanda has killed Zhuge Shaoxing and the rest, what do you think of our plan? Jin Shiyun said jokingly. Originally, Killing Zhuge Xiaosheng, who was at the 9th heavenly layer of body integration, should be very easy. However, Zhuge Xiaosheng was an array master after all. His combat strength was comparable to the early tribulation stage. It was impossible for Taoist Yuan De to directly kill Zhuge Xiaosheng. Therefore, she had asked priest Tu Yumeng to take action and spread the news that Yumeng had killed Zhuge Xiaosheng. With Zhuge Xiaosheng's current status, he was known as the hope to fight against Yumeng. His death would definitely cause the entire cultivation world to fall into panic once again. Only panic could make the cultivators more loyal to the threefold palace. The murderous aura trembled again. When it heard the words Deadwood Evergreen, the murderous aura began to become incomparably violent. Jin Xiun looked at the banyan tree in front of her. She had already locked onto the murderous aura behind this banyan tree. Taoist Yuanda was specially used to deal with you. Zhuge Xiaosheng repaired the city protecting array and ruined our plan. He was equivalent to being our stumbling block. Now that he's dead, your friends won't be able to escape. I will let Taoist Yuanda kill everyone. Lu Dei, Yao Wuji, Mu Chenghong, Mu Hao, everyone you know will die. When Jin Xiun said this, she was clearly very excited. She could already feel the murderous aura in front of her getting stronger and stronger. This meant that Mu Yu was truly enraged. Taoist Yuanda killed everyone you know. Don't worry, I will make sure that he doesn't resist. Will you kill Taoist Yuan to avenge Zhuge, Xiaosheng, and the others? Or will you release the seal and let Gomong out to revive them? This was Jin Xiun's goal. She wanted to anger Mu Yu and make Mu Yu lose his rationality. She wanted to release Gomong and lead the Yumeng to wage war against the human race. The purpose of the third layer palace was for war. It was for the sake of the souls that died in war. So that's how it is. You all deserve to die for controlling Taoist Yuanda. A deep voice came from behind the banyan tree. The killing intent of the owner of the voice had already broken through the horizon. He wanted to tear Jin Xiun into pieces. It's a pity that you don't have the confidence to kill me. Jin Xiun felt the murderous aura that was getting more and more terrifying. She knew that she should leave. There was no need to continue entangling with Mu Yu. Next, she just had to see if Mu Yu would lose control because of his anger. Then we'll meet again. Jin Xiun retreated step by step. She was locked onto by the biting cold, murderous aura. However, she was confident that she could escape from Mu Yu's hands because Mu Yu had used it twice. However, a figure slowly walked out from behind the banyan tree. I don't plan on letting you go. Chapter 887. In the distance, Jin Xiun's sacred aura and murderous aura soared into the sky. Even from far away, one could feel the palpitating fluctuations. However, no one paid attention to the two people fighting over there. Master Lu, Master Medicine, and the others all looked at Zhuge Xiaosheng in horror. Chi! The sound of the cane piercing the bone was so clear and crisp. Blood splattered out and splashed on Zhuge Xiaosheng's face. Zhuge Xiaosheng's heavy eyelids slowly lifted, only to see the figure of the god of death blocking in front of him once again. Taoist Yuanda's cane did not pierce his throat, but the shoulder of the god of death in front of him. This, Zhuge Xiaosheng watched as the cane pierced through the man's shoulder. However, the man did not seem to move at all. He did not even feel any pain. The other party's blood splashed on Zhuge Xiaosheng's face, but he was completely unaware. Mu Yu's eyes were filled with boundless killing intent. He was restraining himself from killing Yuan the Taoist. The killing intent made him incomparably ruthless. However, he still forced himself to be clear-headed, to let himself know that the other party was Yuan the Taoist. Didn't you go after that lord? Taoist Yuanda's face changed greatly. Even if a look of horror appeared on his sacred face, it would still make people feel reverence. The white light of the Triple Palace was indeed a very successful disguise. The murderous aura that was fighting with Jin Xiun in the distance was not Mu Yu, but someone else. Mu Yu grabbed Taoist Yuanda's cane and slowly pulled it out of his shoulder. Black and white spirit energy rolled in his body, quickly healing his wounds. Whether it was his bones or muscles, they were all recovering at a speed visible to the naked eye. "I really want to kill you," Muyu said indifferently, "but I can't because I know you didn't do it on purpose." He turned his head and looked into the distance. Countless doubts flashed through his heart. He did not chase after Jin Shiyun, and the murderous aura in the distance did not come from him. "I was careless." Muyu firmly held onto Yuan de Daoist's walking stick, making it impossible for Yuan de Daoist to pull it back. The threefold palace was very sensitive to Muyu's killing intent. No matter how Muyu hid, they knew that Muyu was nearby. And as a user of the power of slaughter, how could Muyu not sense the existence of killing intent? Just as Muyu was about to help Winter Solstice kill Jin Shiyun, he clearly felt a faint killing intent in the surroundings. He thought that the killing intent came from Jin Shiyun in front of him, but after flying for some distance, he found that the killing intent gradually disappeared behind him. Only then did he realize that the killing intent didn't come from Jin Shiyun at all, but from the people he had just saved. "Be careful of Zhuge Xiaosheng. He's a stumbling block." He suddenly understood Taoist Chu Buku's words in an instant. Chu Buku's words were incomplete and misled him, making him think that he had to be careful of Zhuge Xiaosheng's character. But after leaving, he felt that something was amiss. He recalled how Zhuge Xiaosheng repaired the city defense array for every city to protect the safety of the cultivators. If Zhuge Xiaosheng was a stumbling block, it was definitely not Muyu's stumbling block, but the threefold palace and Yumon's stumbling block. Only then did he understand what Taoist Chu Buku was trying to say. He should be careful of Zhuge Xiaosheng being assassinated, and not be careful of Zhuge Xiaosheng harming him. The person being controlled by the Divine Soul Array was not Zhuge Xiaosheng, but Yuan de Daoist, who had the ability to kill Zhuge Xiaosheng. Muyu immediately turned his head without hesitation, just in time to see Yuan de Daoist walking stick about to pierce Zhuge Xiaosheng's throat. If he had been a breath later, Zhuge Xiaosheng would have died. Muyu was shocked and furious. He could have killed Yuan de Daoist and resolved Zhuge Xiaosheng's crisis, but his rationality made him realize that Yuan de Daoist was only being controlled and could not be killed. He could only block the attack for Zhuge Xiaosheng in a moment of desperation. "I never thought that something like this would happen." Muyu slammed his palm on Yuan de Daoist's chest, sending him flying backward. However, Muyu's figure followed him like a shadow. He extended 2 fingers and tapped on Yuan de Daoist's forehead. Green runes instantly invaded Yuan de Daoist's mind, and a huge resistance came from Yuan de Daoist's mind, fighting against Muyu's runes. Yuan de Daoist let out a painful roar, and his face seemed to become distorted. "The Divine Soul Array is indeed on you." Muyu's expression turned cold. Yuan de Daoist was also being controlled by the Divine Soul Array. No wonder he would do such an abnormal thing. However, he soon realized that the Divine Soul Array that Bai Jie, the Third Layer Palace, controlled was not a complete Divine Soul Array, but a Divine Soul Array with flaws. In front of Muyu, no matter how powerful the Divine Soul Array was, it was just an array. As long as it was an array, he could break it. The runes on his fingers flickered and flickered. In just a blink of an eye, the powerful runes covered the Divine Soul Array in Taoist Yuanda's mind and found the insignificant piece of Divine Soul Wood hidden in his mind. Currently, the piece of Divine Soul Wood was fully engraved with sacred white runes, spreading all over the meridians in Taoist Yuanda's mind. In just a flash, Muyu had taken control of the piece of Divine Soul Wood and wiped out the Divine Soul Array. Yuan de Daoist's screams came to an abrupt end, and he fainted because of the huge battle in his mind. "Medicine Master, look after him." At this moment, Muyu's face was still covered with a powerful illusion array. With his current tribulation stage cultivation, even Zhuge Xiaosheng could not see through the illusion array, so no one recognized him. Muyu quickly rushed to the dying Zhuge Xiaosheng's side and immediately began to treat Zhuge Xiaosheng's injuries. Taoist Yuanda's healing pills had already been taken out by Muyu, and he easily knew the effects of these pills. He immediately took out a rank 7 heart recovery pill and fed it to Zhuge Xiaosheng. At the same time, he channeled his spirit energy into Zhuge Xiaosheng's body. No, Mu Yu quickly retracted his spirit energy, because his spirit energy was now filled with endless killing intent. This kind of aura would run rampant in Zhuge Xiaosheng's body, and would only make Zhuge Xiaosheng's body worse. Zhuge Xiaosheng was not only attacked by priest Tu Yumeng, he was also attacked by Yuanda Daoist Yuanda, and his heart was almost pierced. At this time, his life aura was getting weaker and weaker, and even a rank 7 pill could not save him. Mu Yu needed to race against time, but Zhuge Xiaosheng's injuries had been delayed for too long, and it would take some time for the rank 7 pill to take effect. At this time, Zhuge Xiaosheng did not have enough time to wait for the rank 7 pill to take effect. "Help me," Mu Yu whispered to Little Handsome in his arms. Little Handsome turned into a white light, turned into a human form, and landed beside Zhuge Xiaosheng. He stretched out his small hand and pressed on Zhuge Xiaosheng's chest, and pure spirit energy quickly surged from the surroundings, turning into pure spirit energy that merged into Zhuge Xiaosheng's body. His injuries are too serious. That old man's walking stick hurt his heart, and the rank 7 heart recovery pill won't be able to take effect in time. Little Handsome said seriously. Zhuge Xiaosheng's life force was quickly flowing out of his body. Then we'll stall for time. He can't die. Mu Yu gritted his teeth. The power of the domain spread out again, and Luanfeng Demon King's tail feathers began to burn, covering Zhuge Xiaosheng. The powerful red aura shocked everyone, and this power was the same as the power that Mu Yu used to defeat priest Tu Yumeng. Luanfeng Demon King's domain ability, Nirvana in Flames. Within this domain, the person who was supported by the domain would be guaranteed to not die for an hour. Mu Yu's face turned pale again, and the Nirvana in Flames domain trembled slightly, as if it was about to be destroyed. Mu Yu once again used the power of his domain. The remaining spiritual energy in his body was not enough. He was afraid that he would not be able to maintain this domain for even an hour. However, he still persisted in using the domain on Zhuge Xiaosheng. Master Lu and Mu Chenghong both looked at Little Handsome anxiously. They didn't even have time to care about where this 3 or 4-year-old child came from, and all their attention was on Zhuge Xiaosheng. Little Handsome's finger touched Zhuge Xiaosheng's meridians all over his body, allowing the pill to work faster on Zhuge Xiaosheng's body. Medicine Master supported the unconscious Taoist Yuanda. He was worried about his martial uncle, but he was also more worried about Zhuge Xiaosheng. Zhuge Xiaosheng was attacked in their Pill Cauldron sect territory and was even injured by Taoist Yuanda. If anything happened to Zhuge Xiaosheng, the entire true cultivation world would point their spears at Pill Cauldron sect. During the time when Yuman was unscrupulous, Zhuge Xiaosheng's status was much higher than the alchemists. Everyone looked at Zhuge Xiaosheng, and Mu Yu's face was getting paler and paler. However, the Luanfeng Demon King's domain ability finally held Zhuge Xiaosheng's breath, and then the 7th level pill's medicinal power gradually spread, covering all the meridians in Zhuge Xiaosheng's body, healing the injuries on his body. Mu Yu watched as Zhuge Xiaosheng's injuries gradually stabilized, and only then did he breathe a sigh of relief. His cold eyes swept over the others, and his gaze stayed on Zhuge Xiaosheng for a while, and then moved away. It's okay. Mu Yu withdrew the Luanfeng Demon King's domain ability, and his whole body once again fell into a state of exhaustion. Little Handsome also came to his side and gathered the surrounding spirit energy and sent it into Mu Yu's body, helping him recover the lost spirit energy. There's one more thing I need to confirm. Mu Yu waved his hand, and a murderous aura had already enveloped everyone, directly invading their bodies. Everyone felt a wave of horrifying cold spirit energy enter their bodies, as if they had been frozen for 1,000 years, and their bodies couldn't even move. This terrifying cold spirit energy came and went quickly and disappeared in the blink of an eye. However, everyone was shocked and took a few steps back. At the very least, I need to be sure that none of you are being controlled. Mu Yu said, boom. In the distance, the sacred white light and the cold sword light exploded once again. Although the murderous aura in this sword light wasn't as strong as Muyu's, its power was much stronger than Muyu's. Isn't it Shadow Kill Winter's arrival who wants to kill today's Shiyun? Why would Shadow Kill Winter's arrival release such a murderous aura? Chapter 888. Muyu knew that the holy and righteous aura represented the threefold palace, because the threefold palace liked to use this kind of aura to hide the filth in their hearts. But he could not figure out who the other murderous aura belonged to. Those two auras, little Shuai said in surprise. Go and check it out, but be careful, don't get too close, just see who the other aura belongs to. Muyu instructed. He could not leave these people to avoid another accident. Although only the Earth Yuman appeared here, there was no way to rule out the possibility that other Yuman with other attributes were rushing over. Understood. Little Shuai's figure had already turned into a shadow and disappeared into the forest. Only Muyu and the others were left at the scene. Everyone was still shocked by the cold aura on Muyu's body. They still hadn't figured out what was going on after the series of changes just now. Now that there were all kinds of strange situations, everyone was at a loss. Why would the respected elder Yuan De suddenly attack Zhuge Shaosheng? Why would Yuman appear here? Who was this person with such a terrifying cultivation? Why was his aura exactly the same as Priest Yuman's? But he was here to stop Priest Yuman. All of this made them feel incredulous. Now, they could only pray that Zhuge Shaosheng was safe and sound. Yao Wuji supported the unconscious Taoist Yuan De, then looked at the murderous aura in the distance, then looked at the murderous aura on Muyu's body. He found that the two auras were exactly the same. He hesitated for a moment, then said, "Thank you for saving my life, my lord." Master Lu also quickly said, "It's all thanks to my lord. Our sect master is still alive." Then Master Lu glared at Yao Wuji and said, "Yao Wuji, your Pill Cauldron sect must give our array sect an explanation. I always thought that Taoist Yuan De was a respected senior, but I didn't expect that he would collude with Yuman to frame our sect master. If you don't explain this matter clearly, I won't let you off." Master Lu and Mu Chenghong both looked at Yao Wuji coldly. Even the usually gentle Mu Chenghong's eyes were burning with anger. As long as Yao Wuji did not give them a reasonable explanation, the two of them would not hesitate to kill the people of Pill Cauldron sect. Yao Wuji knew that he was in the wrong. Plus, as a pill master, he was no match for two array masters who were not weaker than him. He could only smile bitterly and said, "Please calm down. Not to mention the two of you, even I don't know why my senior master would do such a thing, my senior. Although my senior is usually not bothered by trifles, he would never do such a thing. There must be some misunderstanding here." Although Taoist Yuan De's style of doing things in the Pill Cauldron sect was very casual, he had an upright personality, and even the sect master would be scolded by him, so no one dared to offend him. However, Yao Wuji understood that it was impossible for Yuan De Taoist to collude with the Yumeng Devil clan. He also couldn't explain Yuan De's actions today. "Yuman, was it a misunderstanding to be so vicious to our sect master? Don't think that just because you're from Pill Cauldron sect, you can dismiss us with the word misunderstanding. You dare to kill our sect master. We will not let this matter rest. Others may be afraid of your Pill Cauldron sect, but I'm not." Master Lu said angrily, "I'm not sure about this matter. Let's wait for my senior master to wake up and ask him." Yao Wuji could not explain clearly. He did not know what had happened. Mu Qinghong said coldly, "Wait for your senior master to wake up? Wait for him to wake up and kill our sect master again?" Murderous intent burst out from Mu Yu's body. Although it was insignificant compared to Mu Yu's murderous intent, it still caused Yao Wuji's expression to change. He quickly looked at Mu Yu for help and said, "My lord, what do you think we should do about this?" Mu Yu said indifferently, "This matter is very difficult to explain. Knowing too much will bring you a fatal disaster." Mu Qinghong's eyes flashed with a sharp light and said, "But if we don't know, how can our array sect take this line down? Inviting us here, then colluding with Yuman to assassinate our sect master. Your pill cauldron sect is too sinister. Mu Hao also stood beside Mu Qinghong, glaring angrily at Taoist Yuanda and the medicine master. Although his cultivation was only in the Jindan period, he was not afraid of anything. Mu Yu was silent for a long time. He knew both sides, but because of the conspiracy of the Sanchong Palace, they had a conflict. He really wanted to show his true face and tell the truth of the matter. But when Mu Yu saw Mu Hao beside Mu Qinghong, he suppressed the thought of revealing his identity. For some reason, Mu Yu suddenly did not have the courage to reveal his true identity in front of Mu Hao. His current identity was very sensitive, standing on the opposite side of the human race. How would this idiot see him? Mu Yu did not care about other people's opinions, but towards this idiot younger brother who blindly worshipped him, he always held a trace of inexplicable pride and expectation in his heart. This was because his younger brother worshipped his older brother as a great hero of the human race. But Mu Yu understood that after he chose his own path, he could no longer be the great hero of the human race in Mu Hao's eyes. He could no longer save all the cultivators. Mu Hao seemed to have realized something. From the beginning, he had been secretly sizing up Mu Yu, trying to find some clues from Mu Yu. But other than the cold, murderous aura, he could not find anything. He would never associate this murderous man in front of him with his most admired brother Mu Yu. Right now, this area is still sealed by Yumon. It is very likely that there are other Yumon. Don't quarrel. Save your energy to deal with the danger that may come at any time. Mu Yu said simply. Mu Qinghong glanced at Mu Yu, and only then did he give up. Mu Yu had been paying attention to the two auras in the distance. The murderous aura and the sacred aura were fighting each other. At this time, because of the huge explosion caused by the fight with Priest Yumon, many people had rushed over from afar. At this moment, the two auras in the distance suddenly disappeared. They came quickly and left quickly. Brother, I'm back. That aura is... Little Shuai had returned to Mu Yu's side in a short while. Just as he was about to explain, he was stopped by Mu Yu. Come with me first. We have to leave this place first. Mu Yu had recovered a little of his spiritual energy. Taoist Yuanda was controlled by the Threefold Palace, and he did not know if the people from the Threefold Palace had set a trap for the Danding sect. Before Mu Yu's spiritual energy was fully recovered, it was obviously not a wise move to bring these people to the Danding sect. Mu Yu stood up. She didn't care if the others agreed or not. She directly swept everyone away and left this place of trouble. Many cultivators had already rushed over to the scene of the incident. When they saw the three mountains being cut in half, they were extremely shocked. Then, they looked at the thousands of ravines on the ground and were even more shocked. What kind of battle could produce such destructive power? Everyone was talking about it. Because this matter was very close to the Danding sect, it attracted Taoist Yundan to personally come and check it out. As one of the leaders of the cultivation world, Taoist Yundan attached great importance to this matter. This happened in the territory under his jurisdiction. Since this happened, everyone wanted to know how Taoist Yundan would deal with it. Taoist Yundan looked at the mess in front of him. He, who had seen a lot, was already frowning. He was trying to distinguish between the remnant auras in the ravines. Suddenly, he smelled the aura of an exploding pill. An exploding pill was a method used by alchemists with low combat power to protect themselves. It was something that every alchemist would refine, and Taoist Yundan was very familiar with it. Reporting to Sect Master, in the forest far away, we found half of the corpse of the Earth Yumon. A disciple reported. The Earth Yumon. Taoist Yundan was furious. Yumon had actually appeared in the territory of the Danding sect. This was a great provocation to the dignity of the Danding sect. He quickly rushed to the place where the disciple found the Yumon. He also understood why the disciple used the word half to describe the corpse of the Earth Yumon. It was because at this time, only the upper half of the Earth Yumon's body was left. The lower half of the body had completely disappeared from the abdomen. After Earth Yumon died, its original form would be revealed. What was seen here was a Earth Yumon whose entire body was made up of transparent crystals. It was no longer breathing, as if it had wanted to use the Earth escape technique to escape, but it had died before it could do so. However, Other than this half of the Earth Yamon's corpse, there was no other corpse of the Earth Yamon within 100 miles. It was as if it had successfully escaped. What they did not expect was that not all of the Earth Yamon had escaped. Instead, they had all been sliced into pieces by Mu Yu's sword. The remaining Earth Yamon should have been forced into this forest by the powerful sword Qi, but its life force had still been destroyed. The Earth Yamon has actually appeared here. Daoist Yundan recalled that today he had sent his senior Uncle Daoist Yuanda to the Dan City to receive Zhuge Shaosheng. Calculating the time, they should already be on their way back to the Danding sect. Now that the aura of an exploding pill had appeared here, coupled with the discovery of the traces of the Earth Yamon, his expression changed greatly. Search for them. You must find Daoist Yuanda and Sect Master Zhuge. Daoist Yundan waved his hand and ordered his disciples. His expression was very ugly. If they had really been ambushed by the Yamon, then not only had they lost the two pill masters, Daoist Yuanda and Yao Wuji, but they had also placed the sect master of the Array faction in danger. Nowadays, the status of Array masters had risen greatly. The degree of respect they received was no less than that of pill masters. In addition, Zhuge Shaosheng had been invited by the Danding sect to set up the teleportation array. If something happened to him in the Danding sect's territory, the reputation of the Danding sect would be severely damaged. The battle strength of pill masters was very low. However, the Danding sect was a large sect. Not only did they have powerful pill masters, they also had many powerful body integration stage cultivators who were willing to serve as guest elders to protect the Danding sect for the sake of pills. The overall strength of the Danding sect was not any weaker than the 8 sects. Logically speaking, Yamon should not have dared to act presumptuously here. However, they had not expected to be ambushed by the Yamon. Not only that, the people who had been ambushed were the crossing tribulation stage Daoist Yuanda and the sect master of the Array faction, Zhuge Shaosheng. This matter had already caused everyone to panic. Chapter 889. In a remote mountain stream, a few figures sat by the river bank and looked at each other. They did not understand why this young man, with a strong killing intent, wanted to take them all away from there. After the battle with Yamon, the Pill Cauldron sect would definitely send many experts to rescue them. That place should be the safest place. However, no one asked because if this person in front of them could save them, he would definitely not harm them. Yao Wuji took care of Daoist Yuanda and kept a distance from Master Lu. He did not dare to get too close, because Master Lu and Mu Chenghong had always had a deep killing intent towards Yao Wuji. If it was not for the existence of Mu Yu, Master Lu would have already killed Yao Wuji and Daoist Yuanda to vent his anger for Zhuge Shaosheng. Mu Yu was resting on a protruding rock in the mountain stream with his eyes closed, recovering the spirit energy in his body. No one dared to disturb him. Yao Wuji stood up and took out a few bottles of pills. These were all very precious Tier 7 pills, some of which belonged to Daoist Yuanda and some of which belonged to him. He walked over and said apologetically, "Master Lu, these are Tier 7 pills. They are all useful for Sect Master Zhuge's injuries." Master Lu shouted angrily, "Is your Pill Cauldron sect still thinking of getting some poison to harm our sect master?" Yao Wuji said awkwardly, "Master Lu is too serious. Take it back, we don't need it. Also, don't come within 100 feet of our sect master, or I will break your legs." Master Lu said with a face full of killing intent. He had always been very straightforward and would do anything for the sect master. As a branch master of the Pill Cauldron sect, Yao Wuji's status was extremely high. When had he ever been scolded like this? However, he knew that he was in the wrong and was not a match for Master Lu. He could only quickly retreat, hoping that the unknown master in the distance would recover soon and explain the whole matter clearly. Mu Yu had already covered up the killing intent with a white ape demon king's demonic energy. He was slowly adjusting his breathing. The spirit energy in his body had recovered by nearly a third, but he still did not reveal his true appearance. Then Mu Yu opened his eyes. After pondering for a moment, he waved his hand and set up a formation, isolating the others from the mountain stream from listening in. "What happened when you went to check just now?" Who was the one emitting that murderous aura? Muyu asked solemnly. Xiao Shuai shook his head. I didn't see anything. When I arrived, the two auras had already disappeared. I don't know who won. The holy aura was Jin Xiun, but the murderous aura was unknown. But I think you should know about that sword Qi, little Shuai said. The murderous aura that was fighting with Jin Xiun was controlled by the sword Qi. 9 temptations of the heavenly sword, Muyu said solemnly. Xiao Shuai asked, could it be Luo Shang? It's not Luo Shang. Luo Shang's sword Qi is very flamboyant. It's not that kind of cold appearance. Furthermore, his slaughter Qi is also stronger than mine. Muyu shook his head. Then it must be Xiang Nan, little Shuai said. Since priest Tu Yuming had appeared here, it was normal for Xiang Nan to appear here as well. No, Xiang Nan's sword Qi is just like his character. It's thick and solid, and it's extremely powerful. Muyu shook his head again. Little Shuai's eyes widened. You mean that the sword Qi came from Chengyan? Muyu felt a little lost. Was it really eldest senior brother? Luo Shang's sword Qi was flamboyant. Xiang Nan's sword Qi was thick and solid. Muyu's sword Qi was endless, and Qingyan's sword Qi was steady and cold. The heavenly swords in their hands were just like their characters. The sword Qi that was fighting with Jin Xiun just now had a hint of calmness in its coldness. But how did Qingyan obtain the slaughter Qi? I thought he wouldn't touch this kind of power. Little Shuai was surprised. This was also what Muyu wanted to know. How did Qingyan also have the slaughter Qi? Obtaining the slaughter Qi meant killing people. Qingyan wanted to protect the cultivation world. So why would he kill people? That day in Clearwater City, Qingyan left Muyu and Luo Shang. As the eldest senior brother, he couldn't convince his junior brother, so he continued to walk his master's path alone. He said that he would protect the cultivation world and the cultivation world on behalf of his master. He would walk this path himself. Even if his junior brothers didn't understand him, he would walk it without hesitation. Since his master wanted to protect the cultivation world, Qingyan wanted to protect it too. However, if he wanted to protect the cultivation world, he wouldn't obtain the slaughter Qi. Little Shuai touched his chin and asked, Muyu, don't you find the sudden appearance of Shadow Killer Winter Solstice and Chengyan strange? As an assassin in the dark, Shadow's Lay Winter Solstice had always been entrusted with a mission by others. He had never found someone to accept a mission by himself. None of this made sense. The reward he wanted was also quite strange. It was only 3 stalks of herbs. Do you think Shadow Killer Winter Solstice was invited by Qingyan? Little Shuai asked. I don't know. Muyu didn't know this. Shadow Killer Winter Solstice came at the same time. In Chun and City, he killed all the people from the Gate of Hell and confronted Muyu. In the end, he quietly retreated. But at this time, Shadow Killer Winter Solstice inexplicably appeared and took the initiative to ask Muyu for a mission to interfere with the plan of the Sanchong Palace. Did the silhouette being really dare to go against the Sanchong Palace? Muyu was still thinking about this strange thing, but at this moment, a soft sound suddenly sounded in a remote mountain stream. What's going on? This soft cry was very melodious and shook people's hearts. It attracted everyone's attention. Everyone raised their heads and looked at the source of the sound. It was a snow eagle. Muyu's pupils shrank. It was Shadow Killer Winter Solstice. Don't move. Don't attack anyone before I come back. Muyu shouted at Master Lu and Mu Qinghong, and then he and Little Shuai turned into a shadow and chased in the direction of the snow eagle. Hey, senior, my lord. Wait. Seeing Muyu suddenly leave, Yao Wuji suddenly became nervous, because Muyu's departure meant that no one could stop Master Lu and Mu Qinghong. Once these 2 people suddenly attacked and wanted to avenge Zhuge Shaoxing, Yao Wuji would not be able to stop them with his strength. Don't shout, they're already far away. Master Lu stretched out his hand, and a blue lightning array pattern appeared in his hand. He clenched his fist and made a crackling sound. His eyes swept back and forth between Yao Wuji and Taoist Yuanda. Yao Wuji hurriedly protected his martial uncle behind him. His heart was also in his mouth. When the weakest alchemist met the strongest alchemist, there was no way they could compare. The snow eagle flew through the air, but it didn't fly very far. Instead, it landed in a rugged and strange stone forest. There were rocks of different sizes all around. The taller ones were dozens of meters, while the shorter ones were about 10 meters. The thickness of the rocks was also uneven. The afterglow of the sun dragged the shadows of these rocks very long. The snow eagle landed on top of a rock and let out a satisfied cry. Under the shadow of the rock, there was already a shadow waiting for Muyu. Muyu stared at the shadow and said, "I can't give you the Heavenly Heart Revitalization Grass right now." "I know," Shadow Killer Winter Solstice said in a low voice. "Who hired you?" Muyu asked again. Shadow Killer Winter Solstice did not answer. "You completed the mission?" Muyu continued to ask. "Today Shiyun is already dead," Shadow Killer Winter Solstice said indifferently. "She was not killed by you." Muyu thought of Qingyin's sword Qi. The mission was to kill her. If she is dead, the mission is completed. Muyu could not refute. The situation was critical at that time, and he did not think too much. "After I find the Heavenly Heart Revitalization Grass, how can I give it to you?" Muyu asked. No matter what, Shadow Killer Winter Solstice had helped him stall today's Shiyun. Muyu would not forget this. "I will get it from you," Shadow Killer Winter Solstice said. "How did you find me?" Muyu's whereabouts were very secretive. The fact that Shadow Killer Winter Solstice was able to find this place made Muyu suspicious. "I have my ways. I'm here to tell you that the Heavenly Heart Rejuvenation Grass I want grows naturally, not something you can conjure. Most importantly, it cannot be blue. It has to be gold." The snow eagle above the rock had already taken flight. As it flew in the air, the afterglow of the setting sun shone on its shadow. When it passed by the rock where Shadow Killer Winter Solstice was, Shadow Killer Winter Solstice had already disappeared into the snow eagle's shadow. "Hey, you didn't kill her. Gold or blue? Why do you have so many requests?" Little Shuai shouted from the side. However, the snow eagle had already disappeared into the stone forest with its long shadow. "Muyu, is there something wrong with Shadow Killer Winter Solstice?" He clearly did not complete the mission, yet he acted so mysterious. He wants 3 Heavenly Heart Revitalization Grass, and even wants to choose a color. Just looking at him makes me want to beat him up. If you ask me, you shouldn't give it to him. The next time he comes, just beat him up. Don't you think so? "Muyu, Muyu, Muyu?" Little Shuai cursed a lot, but he realized that Muyu looked as if he had been struck by lightning. He was shocked. "Gold Heavenly Heart Revitalization Grass." "Muyu, what's a Heavenly Heart Revitalization Grass? What's its use? Why would Shadow Killer Winter Solstice want something like that? And where are we going to find it?" Little Shuai asked curiously. "Gold Heavenly Heart Revitalization Grass." Muyu's heart was in turmoil. When Shadow Killer Winter Solstice had said that he wanted the 3 Heavenly Heart Revitalization Grass, Muyu had not thought of anything because of the urgent situation. However, when Shadow Killer Winter Solstice said that he wanted the Heavenly Heart Revitalization Grass, he suddenly realized something. Thinking of Shadow Killer Winter Solstice and Xingyin's sword aura, his face turned pale. He did not even care that Shadow Killer Winter Solstice had left. Blue and gold. His thoughts drifted back to a few years ago. At that time, he was still at Luochen Mountain and had just entered the sect for a year. Everyone at Luochen Mountain lived in poverty. All kinds of vegetables and fruits were grown by Feng Haochen. Apart from that, Feng Haochen would also grow some magical herbs for them to bathe in. "Master, why are you growing these herbs?" At that time, although Muyu had the ability to control the growth of trees, he did not know all the plants. Feng Haochen would usually grow some vegetables and many strange herbs. Muyu would run over to help from time to time. Feng Haochen loosened the soil for the 10 or so gray-colored herbs, as he gently explained. These herbs are called Heavenly Heart Revitalization Grass. They are very rare plants in the world. They have 3 colors. One is gray, one is gold, and the last one is blue. Then when will they change color? Muyu asked curiously. Then he reached out and touched the Heavenly Heart Revitalization Grass. The gray-colored leaves suddenly turned gold. He said in surprise, "They turn gold when touched." Feng Haochen smiled and said, "No, when no one touches them. They are gray and very inconspicuous. When a person is still himself, touching the heavenly heart revitalization grass will turn gold, as pure as sunlight. When a person is no longer himself, touching the heavenly heart revitalization grass will turn blue. I know how to control trees. I can definitely change their color. Muyu quickly poked the golden heavenly heart revitalization grass, wanting to turn it blue. However, no matter how hard Muyu tried, the heavenly heart revitalization grass he touched was still gold. Damn it, why can't I change color? Muyu was a little depressed as he stopped. Feng Haochen kindly smiled and said, "Don't be naughty. Even if you have the ability to control wood, you can't change the color of the heavenly heart revitalization grass. Because the current you is still yourself. If one day you realize that the heavenly heart revitalization grass you touch is blue, then you're lost." Lost? Is it because I'm born with a bad sense of direction? Muyu was a little embarrassed. He had no sense of direction. It was difficult for him to find the right way to go to an unfamiliar place. Feng Haochen patted Muyu's head and smiled. What I mean by lost is different from your understanding of lost. The heavenly heart revitalization grass is used to remind people who are lost. It allows them to distinguish if they are still themselves. People tend to get lost in their own choices. In order to cater to certain people and certain things, they disguise themselves and forcefully change themselves. In the end, they don't even recognize themselves. It's like they're lost and can't find their way home. But many times when the heart returns, the home will be there. Home is actually just a turning distance away from them. This is the origin of the heavenly heart revitalization grass name and also the meaning of its existence. Master, I don't understand. You will understand in the future. Feng Haochen gently smiled. His smile always gave Muyu an inexplicable sense of security. Muyu's thoughts returned to reality. A stalk of heavenly heart revitalization grass appeared in his hand. However, no matter how hard he tried, the heavenly heart revitalization grass was still blue. It couldn't turn into a sun-like gold. He couldn't control the color of the heavenly heart revitalization grass. Am I lost? Muyu looked at the heavenly heart revitalization grass in his hand. It was filled with a murderous aura that made him feel unfamiliar. Back then, in front of his master, the mischievous him had always wanted to turn the heavenly heart revitalization grass blue. However, no matter how he touched it, the heavenly heart revitalization grass remained gold. But now, he didn't need to touch it. He just needed to use Mu Ling to transform it, and the heavenly heart revitalization grass would turn blue. Senior brother, is it really you? Muyu thought of Shadow Killer's reward for winter solstice. The 3 stalks of heavenly heart revitalization grass made him suddenly understand something. Was it Qingyan who entrusted Shadow Killer's winter solstice to come here? Qingyan knew a lot about his master. He also knew about the various herbs his master grew. Chapter 890. Muyu stared blankly at the heavenly heart rejuvenation grass in his hand. Then he shook his head. Senior brother, I'm sorry. I can't go home yet. The heavenly heart rejuvenation grass turned into smoke and dust and dissipated. He knew how to be himself. Muyu could only be himself when the killing power was no longer entangled with him. However, if Muyu did not have the killing power, his true strength would only be at the form synthesis realm. A form synthesis realm cultivator would not be able to contend with a 3-level palace. He had the talent for cultivation, but he lacked time. It had only been about 10 years since he stepped into the cultivation world at the age of 12. It was already quite heaven-defying for him to reach the form synthesis realm in 10 years, which some people could not reach in their entire lives. For example, Muyu had met Yi Feiying, who was at the form synthesis realm, and Jin Xiun, who was at the tribulation realm. They were all in their 30s. They had cultivated for much longer than Muyu. If Muyu had cultivated for the same time as them, he would not need to rely on the killing power to defeat these people. However, time did not allow him to rely on himself. He could only rely on the killing power. Senior brother, you didn't go home either, right? Mu Yu thought of the sword aura that was mixed with the killing aura that had killed Jin Xian. If one was entangled by the killing power, they would no longer be themselves. The Heavenly Heart rejuvenation grass would not appear golden. Chengyan wanted Mu Yu to go home. However, did Chengyan go home himself? Mu Yu did not understand. Then, he turned and left, heading towards the mountain stream. There was a tall mountain 50 kilometers north of the mountain stream, where Mu Yu was. At this moment, a handsome young man was sitting on the cliff at the top of the mountain. He had delicate features and was cultured and elegant. It was Chengyan. Chengyan sighed slightly. There was a small jade bottle beside him. A Heavenly Heart rejuvenation grass was planted in the jade bottle. The Heavenly Heart rejuvenation grass was gray and looked a little sickly. I know where home is. The wind blew through his clothes, making them flutter. His figure looked very lonely. It was as if he was guarding something alone. His eyes were filled with endless melancholy. I've never left home. A snow eagle was flying in the sky. It was so comfortable and free, but it was also so lonely. I've been waiting for you. Chengyan stared at the gray Heavenly Heart resurrection grass in a daze. His expression was desolate. No one understood him. He walked alone, walking his own path, walking his master's path. We'll wait for you to come home. Chengyan's fingertips brushed across the leaves of the Skyheart resurrection grass. The Skyheart resurrection grass that looked like it was about to wither suddenly bloomed with a golden light. It was like pure sunlight that swept away the dust, cleansed the heart, and illuminated the way home. When Mu Yu returned, Yao Wuji's face was extremely pale. His clothes were tattered and emitted a burnt smell, but he was not injured. Master Lu clenched his fists. His fists were emitting electric sparks as he looked at Master Pharmacist. What happened? Mu Yu saw Yao Wuji's miserable state and hurriedly asked. When Yao Wuji saw Mu Yu, it was as if he saw his savior. He said in a flustered and exasperated manner, Senior, Master Lu has gone too far. Master Lu, didn't I tell you not to do anything to him? Mu Yu looked at the blue lightning runes in Master Lu's hands and understood something. I was just practicing my lightning array technique. The world is unstable now. I have to work hard. Who told him not to run away and blindly wander around my array technique? The runes in Master Lu's hands crackled. You're clearly doing this on purpose. Yao Wuji was electrocuted by the lightning. He and Master Lu were both in the spirit-severing stage, but they were definitely not Master Lu's opponent. However, Mu Yu could also see that Master Lu did not use too much force. Otherwise, with Master Lu's array technique, it would not be as simple as just his clothes being burnt. So what if I did it on purpose? Don't tell me you didn't do it on purpose when you framed our sect master. Master Lu did not feel guilty at all. On the contrary, the lightning runes in his hands crackled, and he did not hide the threat on his face at all. Mu Yu was quite helpless towards Master Lu. However, when Master Lu was in the array sect, he took care of Mu Yu. Mu Yu could not blame him, so he said, All right, we're all people with status. Don't do this next time. Master Lu said, Senior's words are very true, but someone has to be careful when he walks in the future. Don't be struck by lightning because of a guilty conscience. Yao Wuji was a man with both ability and moral integrity. As the leader of a branch of Danding's sect, he was a man who was well-mannered and respected by all. But just now, he was struck by a thunderbolt by Master Lu. No matter how humble and courteous he was still trembling in anger because of Master Lu. Yao Wuji calmed down and suppressed the anger in his heart towards Master Lu. He said, Senior, I am the Pill Cauldron sect's rank 6 alchemist, Yao Wuji. Thank you, Senior, for saving us. Although Mu Yu looked very young after using an illusion technique, Yao Wuji knew that in the cultivation world, there were many powerful old seniors who lived in seclusion. Their age could not be determined by their appearance. Mu Yu was able to use the power of a domain. This kind of cultivation was not something a young person could have. Master Lu snorted. Yao Wuji had revealed his identity as a rank 6 alchemist in front of Mu Yu. It was obvious that he wanted to make himself look important. After all, a rank 6 alchemist was indeed very noble in the cultivation world. Senior, I am the array master of the array sect, Lu Dei. Thank you, Senior, for saving our sect master's life. If Senior has anything to say, Lu Dei will definitely repay Senior's great kindness. Master Lu did not mention his identity as a Xiantian array master. He only expressed his gratitude towards Mu Yu. Other than that, he also glared fiercely at Yao Wuji. Obviously, he still could not forgive Daoist Yuanda for everything he had done. Mu Yu was quite helpless. He knew Master Lu's upright character. If someone messed with him, he would definitely get back at them. Back then, Zhou Jinglin from the Talisman sect had a very bad ending. However, Yao Wuji still had to be a steady person. Usually, he would have a refined and polite appearance and would not get angry. This time, it was likely that he had been struck by Master Lu's lightning array technique. It was like a scholar meeting a soldier, unable to explain himself clearly. In any case, these two people were Mu Yu seniors. Mu Yu could not say anything about them. How are your injuries recovering? Mu Yu asked. Senior, we are fine. It's just that we don't know when our sect master will wake up. Master Lu replied respectfully. Although Master Lu and Mu Yu did not know Mu Yu's true identity, they could see that Mu Yu's face had an array technique. This person must also be a skilled array master. In their hearts, they were even more curious about Mu Yu's identity. Mu Yu hid the chaotic yin and yang in his body very deeply. He did not let these two people sense the chaotic yin and yang aura. In fact, there was no need for this, because when the murderous aura took over, the chaotic yin and yang would be unintentionally suppressed by Mu Yu. He walked to Zhuge Xiaoxing's side. Seeing Zhuge Xiaoxing's aura gradually stabilizing, he heaved a sigh of relief. Zhuge Xiaoxing was the strongest person in the array glyph sect. Mu Yu would have to rely on Zhuge Xiaoxing for many things in the future. Naturally, he would not let Zhuge Xiaoxing die. However, now that Zhuge Xiaoxing was targeted by the people of the Third Palace, it would be very difficult for him to walk in the cultivation world in the future. Luckily, the array glyph sect had a powerful array hall and array glyph stone. This powerful array could even block the white world outside. Therefore, as long as Zhuge Xiaoxing returned to the array glyph sect, he should not be in any danger. Mu Hao's eyes still did not leave Mu Yu. He always wanted to see something from Mu Yu. However, Mu Yu deliberately avoided his gaze. Senior, what should we do now? Master Lu asked. Yao Wuji opened his mouth and said, Senior, Yaman appeared in our Pill Cauldron sect's territory. This is our negligence. Senior, why don't you come to our Pill Cauldron sect and discuss this matter in detail so that we can play host? Master Lu snorted. Go to your Pill Cauldron sect. Wait for you to collude with Yaman again to kill us? Yao Wuji said in a low voice. Master Lu, there must be something fishy about this matter. My martial uncle must have been deceived by Yaman. We will definitely investigate this matter. Investigate? Even your martial uncle, who is at the crossing tribulation stage, was deceived by the Yu Meng Devil Clan. Who knows if everyone in your Pill Cauldron school has been deceived by the Yu Meng Devil Clan? You want to trick us all and then catch us all in one fell swoop, right? Master Lu said bluntly. Yao Wuji said seriously. Master Lu, our Pill Cauldron sect has always done things openly. Please don't randomly accuse us. Randomly accuse us? Our sect leader almost died in the hands of your so-called open and honest martial uncle. If it wasn't for Senior's face, I would definitely kill him. Do you believe me? Master Lu glared at Daoist Yuanda, who was lying beside Yao Wuji with a murderous look. Yao Wuji guarded his martial uncle behind him. If they really fought, he definitely wouldn't be a match for Master Lu and Mu Chenghong. However, when he remembered that there was a mysterious senior beside him, he felt more confident and said, Master Lu, our Pill Cauldron sect will definitely give you an explanation for this matter. However, please don't be overbearing. All right, both of you stop arguing. We'll talk about this matter when they wake up. Mu Yu also had a headache. One of them was Deadwood Daddy's junior brother, and the other was Mu Yu's senior. It wouldn't be good to side with either of them. Fortunately, he still had the fake title of senior expert. Otherwise, it would be hard to say if the two of them wouldn't fight. Master Lu snorted and didn't say anything else. Master Lu had always had a question in his heart. because when Muyu brought them here, the entire mountain stream was already covered with protective formations. Naturally, the formations couldn't hide from his eyes. He could see that these formations were very powerful. In the end, he couldn't help but ask, "Senior, are you also a formation master?" And yes. Muyu nodded. Master Lu immediately glanced at Yao Wuji proudly and said arrogantly, "Senior, as formation masters, we've never been afraid of anyone. Isn't that right? If you ask me, now that Yamon is rampant, this isn't the era of pill masters. Everything depends on us formation masters. Pill masters can only be submissive in front of Yamon, unable to withstand a single blow. As a senior of U.S. formation masters, don't you think so?" When Yao Wuji heard Master Lu's insulting words, he was very angry. However, when he thought about how Muyu just admitted that he was also a formation master, if he refuted now, it would be rude. After being glanced at by Master Lu, he didn't dare to make a sound. He was afraid that this guy would use lightning formations again. Muyu looked at Master Lu in amusement. This old man was still being unreasonable. However, he still said, "That's true, but pill masters also have their advantages. They can heal injuries and temporarily increase a cultivator's strength and cultivation. They are indispensable." Yao Wuji hurriedly nodded and said, "Senior is right. With someone as strong as Senior, we don't have to worry about not being able to defeat Yamon." "Bootlicker," Master Lu said without any trace of politeness. He even had a proud smile on his face. Yao Wuji was a bit embarrassed. "Actually, I also know how to make pills. I also have some connections with the Pill Cauldron sect," Muyu said after a moment of silence. Master Lu's smile froze. Yao Wuji was very happy and immediately said, "I didn't think that Senior would have connections with our Pill Cauldron sect. If Senior can grace our Pill Cauldron sect with your presence, it will definitely bring light to our Pill Cauldron sect." As he said this, Yao Wuji inadvertently glanced at Master Lu. Master Lu instantly exploded in anger. However, Master Lu didn't dare to say anything. This was because Muyu only said that he was an array master. He didn't say anything about his relationship with the array sect. However, he said that he had connections with the Pill Cauldron sect. This relationship was different. "Senior isn't even from your Pill Cauldron sect. What are you so proud of?" Master Lu said angrily. Yao Wuji let out a relieved smile. Having connections meant that their relationship was closer than the other party. Master Lu wouldn't dare to openly attack the two pill masters. Master Lu looked at Yao Wuji's smile and was very unsatisfied. He then asked carefully, "Senior, do you know our array sect's founder?" The array sect's founder was a famous array master in the cultivation world. His reputation was not any weaker than the 8 sect's leaders. However, because the array sect didn't have enough talent, it couldn't be compared to the 8 sections. Muyu said casually, "I do. We have a close relationship." Master Lu was overjoyed. He looked at Yao Wuji provocatively and purposely said loudly, "So Senior is a good friend of our founder. I've been disrespectful. When our founder was still around, he often mentioned that he had a good friend. I'm sure he was talking about you, Senior." Having connections meant that he owed someone a favor. Pill masters like to use pills to buy favors. Favors could be returned. However, having a close relationship meant that they were good friends. This wasn't as simple as a favor. As for whether or not the array sect's founder mentioned this friend, Master Lu didn't care. Yao Wuji also realized this point and felt that he had lost the battle. However, Yao Wuji didn't give up. He asked respectfully, "Senior is also a good friend of one of the elders from our Pill Cauldron sect?" Chapter 891. Little Shuai was laughing so hard that he was out of breath. He knew the relationship between these two old men and Muyu. These two were obviously Muyu's seniors, but when they addressed Muyu as a junior, it sounded very awkward. Not to mention, Master Lu was like an old child, occasionally choking Yao Wuji. This scene was hilarious no matter how one looked at it. Pill masters and array masters were two extremes. One was publicly acknowledged to be the strongest, but because of their lack of successors, they were looked down upon. The other was publicly acknowledged to be the weakest, but because of the heaven-defying effects of their pills, they were respected. Now that these two completely different people had met, it was normal for there to be friction. Yao Wuji was still fine. No matter how much he looked down on array masters, he would not say it out loud. But Master Lu was different. He had a one-track mind. Now that his sect master was being framed by a pill master, he would naturally say whatever he wanted to say, without any scruples. Master Lu was quite spirited. His head was raised by 30%. Yao Wuji saw Master Lu's attitude and was also furious. At this moment, he looked at Mu Yu expectantly, hoping to get a positive answer from Mu Yu. Mu Yu had a headache. He didn't want to expose his identity in front of Mu Hao, but he didn't expect that these two old men would fight for their sect's honor. If it wasn't for his warning, Master Lu might have already killed Yao Wuji. Senior, I wonder which elder of our Pill Cauldron sect you have a relationship with. Yao Wuji knew that Master Lu still had killing intent towards him, so in order to protect himself and his senior uncle, he still wanted to fight for some hope. Who Senior has a relationship with, it has nothing to do with you. Master Lu said indifferently. Does it have anything to do with you? Yao Wuji retorted. Do you want to fight? Lu Xianxue rolled up his sleeves, and blue electric sparks crackled in his hands. Yao Wuji vigilantly protected Taoist Yuanda. How would he dare to fight with Master Lu? He was already in a sorry state from the electric sparks just now, so he quickly said, "A gentleman uses his mouth, not his fists. It doesn't matter. I'm not a gentleman." Formation patterns flowed on Master Lu's fingertips. The threat was not concealed in the slightest. Senior, you have to help us. Yao Wuji hurriedly looked at Mu Yu for help. Mu Yu was helpless. If he didn't reveal his identity, he was afraid that these two people wouldn't give up. He stood up and said, "Don't quarrel, you two. Come with me." "Yes, Senior." Master Lu stood up arrogantly. Yao Wuji glanced at Mu Chenghong as he conjured his spirit energy, wanting to bring Taoist Yuanda along with him. He was not at ease, leaving his senior uncle by the side of the people from a race sect. "All right, leave Taoist Yuanda here for now. I want both of them unharmed. Do you understand?" Mu Yu looked at Mu Chenghong meaningfully. He understood Mu Chenghong as a person. He was usually gentle and polite and very easy to get along with. However, he had a strong sense of belonging to a race sect. Back then, in order to protect a race sect, he was even willing to give up his life. Now that his sect master was injured, although he looked calm on the surface, his heart was filled with killing intent towards Taoist Yuanda. Therefore, Mu Yu had to warn Mu Chenghong not to kill Taoist Yuanda. A strange light flashed across Mu Chenghong's eyes as he cupped his fists and said, "Senior, don't worry. Taoist Yuanda and my sect master will be fine. Everything will wait until the truth is out." The killing intent in Mu Chenghong's eyes did not lessen. However, with his assurance, Mu Yu knew that Mu Chenghong would not do anything to Taoist Yuanda. Mu Yu brought Yao Wuji and Master Lu to the riverbank for a distance. Little Shuai also followed them to join in the fun. When Mu Yu could no longer see Mu Hao, he set up a soundproof array around them and pulled the two into the array. "Senior, are you planning to let me fight with him to settle our grudges?" The lightning on Master Lu's fingertips crackled. Yao Wuji's expression changed as he hurriedly said, "Senior, this matter—" All right. Stop calling me Senior. It makes me feel uncomfortable. Look at who I am." Mu Yu removed the illusion array on his face and revealed his original appearance. Mu Yu?" Yao Wuji's mouth was wide open. Master Lu's eyes were wide open as well. He grabbed his beard and almost pulled it off. Min. Master Lu, I am Mu Yu. Have you forgotten?" Mu Yu reminded. Yes, Mu Yu. But, oh my God, is it really you?" Master Lu's face was filled with disbelief. The last time they parted in Qingshui City, Mu Yu was only in the spirit-severing stage. Now, he was strong enough to fight with the tribulation-passing stage, Priest Tu Yumeng. This speed of improvement was terrifying. Yao Wuji was also deeply shocked. He hadn't seen Mu Yu for a long time, but he still had a deep impression of Mu Yu. No one would forget such a genius. After all, Mu Yu was his junior nephew. "Both of you, I'm very sorry. I had to hide my identity from you for so long. Muyu smiled helplessly. Master Lu reacted quickly and stared arrogantly at Yao Wuji. He said arrogantly, Muyu, you have to uphold justice for us. Sect leader was injured in the hands of the Pill Cauldron sect. How can we let this matter rest? Muyu is the sect leader of the Array Talisman sect. This matter hadn't been announced to the public, but when Master Lu saw Muyu, it was as if he had found a backer. Zhuge Shaosheng and Master Lu were both Muyu's subordinates. Now that Zhuge Shaosheng was in trouble, Master Lu believed that Muyu would definitely stand on the side of the Array sect. Yao Wuji also immediately said, Muyu, you also know what kind of person Martial Uncle Yuanda is. He wouldn't do such a thing. The people of the Array sect have always been aggressive. You have to judge them properly. Yao Wuji also treated Muyu as one of his own. After all, Muyu was the disciple of Yao Wuji's senior brother, Deadwood Evergreen. He was also the sect leader of the Pill Cauldron sect's Green Bamboo Peak. The old man guarding the pavilion was Deadwood Evergreen's father-in-law. In his opinion, with Muyu around, the people of the Array sect wouldn't dare to be presumptuous. However, Master Lu didn't hold back and scolded, Judge, it's already good that I didn't slap you to death. You still dare to look for our Muyu to judge? Is Muyu someone you can call? He is your benefactor. You don't kneel down and kowtow to thank him. You still dare to call him by his name. Don't you know etiquette? Master Lu wasn't very clear about the relationship between Muyu and the Pill Cauldron sect. Although the outside world had always said that Muyu was the disciple of Jian-Ing, Chun-Feng, and Deadwood Evergreen, everyone intentionally omitted the words Deadwood Evergreen. After all, Jian-Ing Chun-Feng's reputation was too great. In comparison, there was no need to mention Deadwood Evergreen. Master Lu didn't think about the relationship between Muyu and the Pill Cauldron sect. However, Muyu is his own sect leader. Master Lu was much more unyielding about this point. You're Muyu? Do you know who Muyu is to our Pill Cauldron sect? Do you know the relationship between my martial uncle Yuanda and Muyu? You still want to make a move on my martial uncle Yuanda? Do you think that Muyu will let you succeed? Yao Wuji replied, not to be outdone. Thinking about how he was struck by lightning by Master Lu, he was still very angry. Yao Wuji also didn't know the relationship between Muyu and the Array sect. However, he knew that his martial uncle and Muyu were friends despite the difference in age. His senior brother Deadwood Evergreen and Muyu were as close as father and son. His disciple and Muyu were as close as brothers. This was enough to explain a lot of things. Yeah, are you courting death? What's so great about your Pill Cauldron sect? Our Muyu can defeat priest Tu Yumeng with a slap. Who in your Pill Cauldron sect can do that? No matter what, your old thief Yuanda almost killed my sect leader. I really don't understand why you would want to save that old thief Yuanda. Master Lu said angrily. Yao Wuji said angrily. Impudent. Who are you calling an old thief? I said Yuanda is an old thief. What's wrong? Master Lu shouted angrily. Don't go too far. Yao Wuji had long been angered by Master Lu's words. Originally, because he couldn't beat the other party, he had been holding it in. But now that Muyu was beside him, he had nothing to fear from Master Lu. Little Shuai watched the two quarreling with interest from the side. He took out an apple and chewed on it. He was very happy to be a spectator. Muyu also had a headache. These two were his elders, and they were proud of him. He didn't know who to help. All right, that Muyu you're talking about hasn't even said anything yet. The two of you are quarreling so happily. Muyu said helplessly. Master Lu and Yao Wuji both glared at each other and said in unison, Muyu, how are we going to deal with them? Then, the two of them shouted at the same time, Deal with us. Where did your confidence come from? Why are you imitating me? Muyu couldn't help but laugh. All right, let's stop quarreling. Seniors, whether it's the two of you or the two of you, everyone in this mountain is very important to me. I won't deal with anyone, understand? After saying this, he felt a little strange. Why did it sound like he was trying to persuade two old kids to stop quarreling? He was clearly the junior. Master Lu interrupted. Our Muyu is kind and merciful. You should feel lucky that he spared you. I should be the one saying that. Yao Wuji replied coldly. After a while, Yao Wuji sighed and said, I didn't expect Mu Yu to have such a powerful cultivation. Heroes indeed come from the young. If my senior brother knew about this in the underworld, he would also be content. Mu Yu didn't say much, but he wouldn't let Deadwood Daddy go to the underworld. Our Mu Yu's cultivation can be independent. What does it have to do with your senior brother? Master Lu scoffed. Mu Yu said, Master Lu, Master Yao's senior brother is Deadwood Evergreen. He's another master of mine. Just like my father, he's very important to me. Master Lu opened his mouth and realized that he had said something wrong. He quickly said, I'm sorry, I didn't know. Please, will you forgive me? If you don't know, then don't talk nonsense. If you say something wrong, you won't be able to bear the consequences. Yao Wuji glared at Master Lu. Master Lu was so angry that he gritted his teeth. But sect leader Zhuge and Master Lu are also very important to me. I won't let anything happen to them. Master Yao, you must know this. Mu Yu said, Did you hear that? Master Lu immediately puffed out his chest. Yao Wuji snorted. Chapter 892. Mu Yu shook his head. Don't tell my brother yet. Right now, I'm the target of everyone's crusade. You guys saw it just now. My power isn't good, so I don't want him to misunderstand me. Back then, that silly kid blindly worshipped him. Mu Yu didn't want to destroy the image that Mu Hao had of him. Although he wouldn't be able to hide it in the future, at least not now. Master Lu immediately said, There's no such thing as good or bad. No matter what you become, you're still my sect. Our Mu Yu. Others may crusade against you, but our array sect won't. Sect leader once told all of us that no matter what happens, we'll support your decision. Master Lu's words made Mu Yu very emotional. After being misunderstood by the cultivators, he almost forgot that he had someone from the array sect who would support him unconditionally. Yao Wuji was silent for a moment and said, Mu Yu, I don't want to lie to you. Because of Yumon, a lot of people are pointing their fingers at our Pill Cauldron sect. We all know that this matter has nothing to do with you. For the dead tree, we've always believed in you. But there are still people who want to remove your name from the Pill Cauldron sect. This matter, you Pill Cauldron sect, are all hypocrites. You still dare to count on our Mu Yu to help you? You save a bunch of ingrates. Master Lu said without holding back. Yao Wuji didn't refute this time. It's sure Ding Tian, right? Mu Yu said calmly. Yao Wuji nodded his head. What did Taoist Yundan say? Sect leader didn't agree to this matter. Actually, the one who objected the most was Martial Uncle Yuanda. He scolded Sir Deng Tian and even said that if you want to remove your name, then remove him too. You don't need to recognize him as your martial uncle anymore. He always blamed himself for not protecting the dead tree. Because of this, Bing Shui blamed her father and took the dead tree's body and left the Pill Cauldron sect. Martial Uncle really felt guilty. Although he and the dead tree quarreled every time they met, Martial Uncle still approved of the dead tree. Now that his daughter blamed him, he didn't have a good life. This time, I really don't know why Martial Uncle would do such a thing. I don't know what went wrong. Yao Wuji shook his head helplessly. Mu Yu knew that with the old man's temper, he would definitely say such harsh words to get rid of him. Although the old man was never serious when he met him, he had always been protecting Deadwood when he was imprisoned. It was more to make up for accidentally separating Deadwood and his daughter. As for why the old man would attack Zhuge Shaosheng, it was because of his soul array. The divine soul array controlled by the threefold palace was incomplete. It could only be controlled at a close distance. That day, the woman from the third palace was nearby. She must have triggered the soul array in the old man's mind and ordered him to kill Zhuge Shaosheng. When the soul array was implanted, Mu Yu could also guess. Thinking back to the time in the 50-mile garden in the south, the threefold palace ordered everyone in the crossing tribulation stage to go to the threefold palace. At that time, all the crossing tribulation stage cultivators in the cultivation world were probably controlled by the threefold palaces by Jie. If the soul array wasn't triggered, the old man would still be himself. Therefore, Mu Yu was sure that what Yao Wuji said was true. The old man couldn't protect the dead tree, but he wanted to protect Mu Yu to make up for his guilt towards the dead tree. I know about this. When the old man wakes up, I will go to the Pill Cauldron sect. Muyu said, You're still going to the Pill Cauldron sect? Muyu, that's a place of trouble. You're still going? Master Lu couldn't help but ask. I have something important to do at the Pill Cauldron sect. Muyu didn't explain in detail. He didn't know much about the Pill Cauldron sect situation, but his goal was the ancient teleportation array. Yao Wuji didn't say anything. Seeing Mu Yu's attitude, Master Lu didn't object, but he still said, Then I'll go with you. Otherwise, I won't be at ease. Old man Lu, what's the use of you going? If the Pill Cauldron sect wants to capture people, won't your cultivation become a burden to us? Little Shuai said. Master Lu thought of Mu Yu's current cultivation. His face turned slightly red, but he still said seriously, If the Pill Cauldron sect is playing tricks and really colluded with Yumon to set up a trap, I can cover the rear and give you time to escape. Okay, Master Lu, I won't let anything happen to you. Everything will wait until Sect Master Zhuge and Taoist Yuanda wake up. Muyu patted Master Lu's shoulder. He knew that Master Lu dared to say this and dare to do it. He was definitely not joking. Muyu told them not to expose themselves in front of Mu Hao. Then, he withdrew his spirit energy and walked back. Our Pill Cauldron sect didn't collude with Yamon, Yao Wuji said, and followed behind Muyu. Who knows? Master Lu coldly snorted and also followed. But at this moment, little Shuai, who was walking at the back, suddenly exclaimed, Muyu, your hand. Muyu stopped and asked curiously, What's wrong with my hand? He stretched out his right wrist and was suddenly startled. An extreme immortal symbol appeared on it. It read 19. I forgot about this. Muyu frowned. When he killed Yi Fian, he was in a hurry to save Taoist Yuanda and the others. So, he didn't pay attention to the extreme immortal symbol. Now that the symbol appeared on Mu Yu's wrist, it meant that everyone knew that Mu Yu had defeated the 19th extreme immortal, Yi Fian. What? Mu Yu, you made it to the 19th extreme immortal leaderboard? Master Lu's mouth was wide open. Then, he immediately reacted and laughed happily. I knew it. My Mu Yu has extraordinary potential. It's only a matter of time before he makes it to the top 9, let alone the 19th place. Huh. Master Lu was so happy that it was as if he was the 19th extreme immortal. It was no wonder that he was so happy. Ever since the Supreme Immortal Leaderboard was released, there had only been one change in the top 20 extreme immortals. It was when Xiang Nan made it to the 9th place. However, this time, Master Lu's troublesome sect, Master, gradually revealed his talent. This meant that the Array sect had more hope of developing into the Array Talisman sect in the future. 19th place? Yao Wuji also sucked in a breath of cold air. Of course, he knew what it meant to be in the top 19 of the Supreme Immortal Leaderboard. Among the young disciples of the Pill Cauldron sect, none of them were even in the top 50, let alone the 19th place. Muyu was now the branch leader of the Pill Cauldron sect. For the Pill Cauldron sect to be able to make it to the 19th place was not to be underestimated. Fortunately, we all opposed Shi Dongtian's suggestion. Otherwise, this would be a huge loss. Yao Wuji thought to himself. Regardless of whether it was Master Lu or Yao Wuji, the two of them still did not know why the Third Palace released the Supreme Immortal Leaderboard. However, the existence of the Supreme Immortal Leaderboard represented the true strength of the younger generation of the cultivation world. This was definitely true. Muyu, are you going to remove this Supreme Immortal symbol? Little Shuai asked. Remove? How can I remove it? This is a great honor. Master Lu could not help but ask. Yao Wuji and Master Lu had the same thought. Muyu revealed a piercing killing intent. There's no need for that. Let remain. The top 20 all belong to them. I'll kill them one by one. The cultivation world was in an uproar. Pill City was under the jurisdiction of the Pill Cauldron sect. This time, the Pill Cauldron sect had invited Zhuge Shaosheng to Pill City to inspect the city's defensive formation. They also wanted to set up a teleportation formation between Pill City and the Pill Cauldron sect in case Yumon suddenly attacked. The Pill Cauldron sect was not any weaker than the Eight Gates. Although their alchemists were weak, there were countless powerful elders guarding the sect. It was one of the safest places in the cultivation world. The teleportation formation in Pill City was connected to the Pill Cauldron sect. If Yaman attacked, everyone in Pill City would be able to escape to the Pill Cauldron sect in time. This was something that everyone was looking forward to. However, no one expected that something would happen halfway through. Daoist Yuanda and Zhuge Shaosheng, the two famous experts of the cultivation world, were attacked by Yuman on their way to the Pill Cauldron sect. Daoist Yuanda was at the tribulation passing stage. No matter how weak his alchemists were, he was still a tribulation passing stage senior. Zhuge Shaosheng was at the ninth heaven of the combination stage. As the sect leader of the Erase sect, everyone would treat him as a tribulation passing stage cultivator. However, these two tribulation passing stage experts were ambushed by Yuman in the Pill Cauldron sect's territory. It was unknown whether they were dead or alive. Daoist Yundan ordered everyone in the Pill Cauldron sect to track down these two experts. They had to be found no matter what. However, 2 days passed. Not only these two experts, even Yao Wuji and the array master that Zhuge Shaosheng had brought along had disappeared without a trace. The most shocking thing was that after Yuman ambushed these two experts, he escaped without a trace. Even after the Pill Cauldron sect searched for thousands of miles around the scene of the incident, they still couldn't find any trace of Yuman. The only thing that was left behind was half of his corpse. Other than that, there was nothing else. This news caused all the cultivators to panic. This was because Yuman had reached the point where he could kill people as he pleased without leaving any traces behind. If even these two tribulation passing stage cultivators weren't a match for Yuman, then how are the rest of the cultivators supposed to fight against Yuman? However, this news wasn't the only thing that shook the cultivation world. The most shocking thing was that there were 4 changes in the top 20 of the Extreme Immortal Leaderboard. The Extreme Immortal Leaderboard that hadn't had any changes for 2 years now had several new names in a row in just a few short days. These new names were Extreme Immortal 19th, Mu Yu, Extreme Immortal 17th, Shadow Killer Winter's Arrival, Extreme Immortal 16th, Xiaoran, Extreme Immortal 12th, Luo Shang. Chapter 893. Shadow Killer Winter Solstice had never been able to enter the Supreme Immortal Leaderboard before. Although he was powerful, he was already over 40 years old and wouldn't be recognized by the Supreme Immortal Leaderboard. But this time, he had somehow entered the Supreme Immortal Leaderboard. As for Xiao Ran, who had always been unknown, no one knew where he came from. It was as if he had appeared out of thin air. He was even more mysterious and unfathomable. There were already 3 true God disciples in the top 20 of the Supreme Immortal Leaderboard. But what was strange was that Qingyan, who was supposed to be the eldest disciple, wasn't among them. This confused everyone. 3 people walked into the dilapidated temple outside the city. Haha, I'm rich. I'm rich. Daoist Chu Buku's eyes narrowed into slits as he counted his spiritual stones. Chu Xiaoqi sighed at the side. He had lost all 3 spirit stones he had bet, but his master had won 1,000 times of the 9 spirit stones he had bet. Master, I should have lent you a spirit stone. I regret it so much. Chu Xiaoqi slapped his head bitterly. Who told you not to trust me? Ha! I've said it before. Without the determination to stake everything on a single throw, how can you earn big money? You're still young. Learn well from me. Daoist Chu Buku shook the spirit stones in his bag. According to convention, the money won from gambling didn't need to be handed over to Chu Shaoqing for safekeeping. Wow. Big Brother Mu Yu really entered the top 20. Big Brother Mu Yu is so handsome. Chu Xiaoqing's eyes glowed. She still looked like a fangirl. Chu Xiaoqi looked at the Supreme Immortal Leaderboard and said, But Master, that Xiao Ran jumped out at this time and even got 16th place. Isn't this too much? Daoist Chu Buku stroked his beard. Yes, Xiao Ran jumped out. That means that old bastard allowed him to come out and cause trouble. No, I can't lose to that old bastard. Where's my beloved disciple? Disciple is here. Chu Xiaoqi hurriedly stood up with a serious expression. Get 15th place for me. You must rank higher than that stinking brat and anger that old bastard to death. Chu Buku said. Disciple obeys. Chu Xiaoqi said solemnly. Then he leaned over and asked softly, Master, will you bet again this time? Your Majesty. Definitely. This time, I'm going to bet everything I have. Chu Buku shook the spiritual stones. Then, can I become a shareholder? Chu Xiaoqi asked fervently. What are you going to use to invest? Your butt? Chu Buku glanced at his disciple. Chu Xiaoqi's face was full of dejection. He searched his entire body, but couldn't find a single spirit stone. He was so poor that he couldn't even ring. Master, lend me 1,000 spirit stones as a form of encouragement, Chu Xiaoqi said fawningly. Who asked you to not believe me back then? It's useless to regret it now. Chu Buku snorted. Chu Xiaoqi pleaded, But master, if you don't lend it to me, I won't be in the mood to fight. If I can't win, won't your spirit stones go down the drain? Taoist Chu Buku slapped Chu Xiaoqi on the head. How dare you threaten me? Cut the crap. If you make my spirit stones go down the drain, you'll be drowned in a pig's cage. Chu Xiaoqi's face was pale with fright. He hurriedly shook his head. Master, I promise I'll take 15th place. Chu Xiaoqi appeared a little dejected, but then he revealed a fawning smile and moved to Chu Xiaoqing's side. Little sister, give big brother some sponsorship. Master is going to operate under the table this time. I'll definitely make a killing. Okay. Big brother Muyu is so handsome. Chu Xiaoqing didn't hear what Chu Xiaoqi said at all. Yumon's strength cast a shadow over the hearts of the cultivators. Everyone in the cultivation world was in danger. Everyone was afraid that they would become a dead soul under Yumon's palm when they woke up. The only thing that could save them now was the threefold palace. This was the only thought and hope in the bottom of every cultivator's heart. The threefold palace. Bejeweled jade palaces and palaces. Holy light wrapped around a tall and imposing figure. He stood there as if he was the center of the world. All the sun, moon, and stars revolved around him. It was as if a single glance from him could cause the world to move and the mountains to collapse. This was the new god that had overthrown Jian, Ying, and Chun Feng on the threefold continent. Bai Jie liked this feeling very much. He liked to control everything in his hands and make the entire world look up to him. But today he was very angry. The people of the threefold palace appeared very holy even when they were angry. Everyone thought that their anger was righteous anger and their slaughter was righteous judgment. He was angry because something that should have been done according to his rules had gone awry. There's no news from the 5 divine envoys. Bai Jie's voice was like a god in the vast starry sky, dignified and solemn. A group of people covered in white light knelt in front of him. They trembled in fear and didn't dare to raise their heads. What about their soul power? Bai Jie continued to ask. My lord, none of their soul power has returned. The leader replied with trepidation. What about Zhuge Shaosheng and Yuan de Dao's soul power? Bai Jie asked again. Master, it's the same situation. The 2 divine envoys, Zhuge Shaosheng and Yuan de Daoist, should still be alive. They're still alive? The soul power of more than 100,000 people in Eastern Sand City hasn't returned. Could it be that they're still alive? Bai Jie questioned sternly. Master, please forgive us. Because Muyu controls a power that we don't know about, it could devour soul power, so we can't be sure. The kneeling person lowered his head. The return of soul power was the standard to determine whether a person was truly dead or not. When a dot of light on the black and white stone tablet disappeared, it meant that a person had died. That person's soul power should return. But at some point, soul power could no longer be used to determine whether a person was dead or not. This was because wherever Mu Yu was, the dead would never leave behind any soul power. Bai Jie looked at his holy palace. The white light in his eyes flickered. He was the center of the entire cultivation world. For more than 100 years, the cultivation world had worshipped Jian, Ying, Chun Feng as a god. Now that Jian, Ying, Chun Feng had been overthrown by him, and he had become the new god, he naturally wanted to regain control of everything. He created panic for the sake of starting the war, then used the panic to establish his prestige, becoming the only faith of all the cultivators. Now, all the cultivators were waiting for him to save the cultivation world from the fire and water. Such a flawless plan, but because of Jian Ying, Chun Feng's disciple, there were problems. Not only that, there were also some people who came out to interfere. Where did Lun Yan, who was originally ranked 16th, get into trouble? Bai Jie snorted coldly. Master, Lun Yan was killed by this youth named Xiao Ran at the riverside of Qi River. His soul power hasn't returned. As expected, there are still some old antiques hidden in the third heaven. They can't hold back anymore and plan to make a move? Bai Jie stood up and took a step in the air, creating ripples in the air. It was as if a huge mountain was stepping on the hearts of everyone below, causing them to not even dare to breathe loudly. Bai Jie muttered to himself, I originally thought that leaving those 5 alive would allow them to lead Yu Meng to start the war after losing control. Now, it seems like it was a mistake. Jianing Chun Feng, I didn't expect you to still have a trick up your sleeve. The kneeling people didn't dare to answer. They could only obey orders and didn't have the right to make any suggestions. A long silence, as if 10,000 years had passed, but also as if it had only been an instant. Send people to get rid of the hindrances on the Supreme Immortal Leaderboard. The 9 Shin Immortals on the Supreme Immortal Leaderboard are very important. I don't want the top 9 to be out of my control. Bai Jie took a step forward and disappeared. The Great Water River was a wide river that flowed through the Great Water City and nourished the land of the Great Water City. Qi River City was only a small city located in an extremely remote area. There weren't many cultivators here, and it was a very simple city where mortals gathered. Not far from Qi River City was a cliff called Wind Cliff. It was 3,000 meters tall, and one could clearly see the entire scenery of Qi River City from here. There was a huge wind observation stone at the top of Wind Cliff. This stone was very strange. It was 10 meters wide and 10 meters tall, but it was less than half a meter away from the ground. From afar, it looked like it could be blown off the cliff by the wind at any time. At this moment, a blue-clothed youth was sitting on top of the wind observation stone. He was looking at Qi River City in the distance. The cold wind blew his clothes, making him look free and easy. There was a long sword behind him with a scabbard inserted into the stone. A wine gourd hung on the sword's hilt, fluttering in the wind. How did you find me? The blue-clothed youth asked indifferently. At some point, another figure had appeared on the lookout stone. Lun Yin died here. Cheng Yin said indifferently. He shouldn't have appeared in Qi River City. Otherwise, I wouldn't have killed him. The blue-clothed youth said. The one who killed Lun Yin was Xiao Ran. Qi River City is a very mysterious city. There are very few cities in the cultivation world that don't have cultivators. Cheng Yin said, Why are you looking for me? Xiao Ran asked. I want to see your master. Cheng Yin said. Xiao Ran shook his head. My master doesn't want to be involved in the cultivation world's disputes. You killed Lun Yin. The Sanchong Palace will investigate this place. It's impossible for you to stay out of this. Cheng Yin said. Xiao Ran looked at the city in the distance. You're right. But I had to kill him because Lun Yin had his eyes on this city. A city without cultivators. Anyone would be interested. Cheng Yin said. Xiao Ran nodded. But I'm curious about one thing. What is it? What level has your cultivation reached? The sword light flashed above the wind observation stone and disappeared in an instant as if nothing had happened. Do you understand now? Cheng Yin asked. The sword behind Xiao Ran was still stuck in the stone. The wine gourd hanging on the sword's hilt swayed gently. As expected of Cheng Yin, Xiao Ran nodded and smiled. You hit it well. Everyone underestimated you. Xiao Ran stood up. My master told me to wait for you here. He said you came for Xiangnan. Chapter 894. Array Sect, Array Hall. Muyu had already silently brought the group back to Array Sect. Everyone thought that only the 8 gates and a few other sects were the safest places in the cultivation world. But in reality, the safest place in the cultivation world was the Array sect. With the Array Hall and the Array Rune Stone, even the White World wouldn't be able to enter. They had already returned to Array sect for 7 days. Even the people of Array sect didn't know about this. All the disciples of Array sect, including the previous masters, thought that their sect head had been killed. At this moment, they were filled with grief and anger. But they didn't know that their sect head was already in the Array Hall. Mu Yu and the others had already heard about the current situation in the cultivation world from the disciples of the Array faction. Due to the death of Taoist Yuanda and Zhuge Shaosheng in the hands of the Yumeng Devil clan, the entire cultivation world was in a state of panic. Yao Wuji had always been anxious to tell Taoist Yundan about this. But Mu Yu didn't agree. This was because this matter was very hard to explain. They had to wait for the two of them to wake up before making any plans. Mu Yu had already been arranged to cultivate in another level of the Array Hall. Therefore, Mu Yu didn't need an illusion array to disguise himself. These few days, Mu Yu had been feeling uneasy. Ever since he returned to the Array Hall, he felt that there was a strange energy in the Array Hall that was rejecting him. He was sure that if it wasn't for the existence of the yin and yang in his body, the Array Hall wouldn't even let him near. But what was going on? Why was the Array Hall rejecting him? Zhuge Shaosheng was still unconscious. Taoist Yuanda finally opened his eyes. "Senior uncle, you're awake?" Yao Wuji was pleasantly surprised. Taoist Yuanda clutched his head. He had a splitting headache. That day, Mu Yu fought a battle in his mind to remove the God Soul Array. This caused his head to be severely injured. "I'm not a coward. I'm not a coward." After Taoist Yuanda woke up, he seemed to be in a daze. He could only repeat this sentence. "Senior uncle, I'm Yao Wuji." Yao Wuji was shocked. He hurriedly took Taoist Yuanda's pulse. However, he discovered that Taoist Yuanda's body was completely fine. Only the wound on his head hadn't healed. "I'm not a coward." Taoist Yuanda completely ignored Yao Wuji. When Master Lu saw Taoist Yuanda, he was furious and said angrily, "Don't think that you can write off the debt by pretending to be crazy. I'm warning you, I will never let you off for trying to kill my sect master." Mu Yu said he did lose his memory. Not only did Bai Jie set up a divine soul array in Taoist Yuanda's mind, he also set up a unique array technique. Back then, when Taoist Yuanda wanted to tell Mu Yu the location of the threefold palace, he would forget everything. Mu Yu erased the array that the threefold palace had set up on Taoist Yuanda's body, but it also caused a serious injury to Taoist Yuanda's head. Yao Wuji carefully inspected the injury on Taoist Yuanda's head. His expression became more and more solemn. "I am unable to heal this injury." Mu Yu was also helpless. Brain injuries were the most difficult to heal. "Have a good rest first. Medicine Master, take good care of him." Mu Yu and Little Shuai walked out and came to the other side of the Array Hall. "Don't look at me. I can't do anything about this." Little Shuai spread out his hands. Mu Yu frowned. He originally wanted to wait for Taoist Yuanda to wake up and find out from him how many crossing calamity stage experts there were in the cultivation world. This way, he could solve the future problems one by one and prevent these crossing calamity stage cultivators from becoming the thugs of the threefold palace in the future. But from the looks of it, things were still out of control. "Little Shuai, is there really no other way? The recovery of the old man's memories is extremely important to us. We must let those crossing calamity stage cultivators break free from the control of the threefold palace." Mu Yu said seriously, "If I had a way, I would have remembered everything by myself. I wouldn't have a lot of memories now." Xiao Shuai could heal many injuries and see through many people's problems, but he was powerless when it came to recovering memories. This was because his mind was always in a daze. Occasionally, he would remember some things from the past, and the rest of his mind would be occupied by food. Master Lu walked over with a face full of anger and couldn't help but say, "Mu Yu, are we going to let him go just like that? He's the one who almost killed the sect leader. He was controlled by someone. Killing the sect master was not his intention." Mu Yu replied. Mu Yu glanced at Master Lu and continued, "Just like when you were controlled by Zhou Jinglin, didn't you still want to kill me? Master Lu's face immediately flushed red. The divine soul array was also used on him. At that time, he almost killed Muyu. Thinking of this, he suddenly felt a little embarrassed. That? Muyu, you don't blame me, right? Muyu said, I won't blame you, so I won't blame Taoist Yuanda. His injuries are even more serious than yours. Master Lu awkwardly pulled at his beard and then asked, Then what do you plan to do next? Let him return to the Pill Cauldron sect, just like that? Muyu shook his head. He can't go back. He will be in danger if he goes back. The person controlling him will not let him go. It's best if Yaman doesn't let him go. Master Lu gritted his teeth and said, he still believed that Taoist Yuanda was controlled by Yaman. Muyu looked at Master Lu and asked, Do you believe me? Master Lu nodded without hesitation. Of course I believe you. Without you, I would have lost my life long ago. Muyu was silent for a moment and said, Don't be in a hurry to answer. When the sect master wakes up, I will tell you everything. At that time, you can decide whether to believe me or not. Master Lu saw that Muyu seemed to have something that was difficult to say and was puzzled. However, he still didn't understand what Muyu was trying to say. In his eyes, no matter what the sect master of the Formation Talisman sect said, he wouldn't doubt it. Zhuge Xiaosheng also woke up on the second day after Yuan the Taoist woke up. He had suffered a fatal injury. If it wasn't for the Luanfeng Demon King's undying domain forcefully holding on for a period of time and buying time for Muyu to save his life, he would most likely be dead by now. Zhuge Xiaosheng was deeply shocked when he found out that the person who saved him was Muyu. He had always thought that there was still a long time before Muyu returned to lead the Formation Talisman sect. However, he didn't expect that in just 3 years, his sect master had already reached such a powerful level. Thank you for saving my life, sect master. Zhuge Xiaosheng saw that Taoist Yuanda and Yao Wuji weren't around and was about to bow. However, Muyu shook his head. There's no need for that, sect master. Just call me Muyu. Muyu didn't like the etiquette of the secular world. He had always respected the elders who were good to him. Even if it was a subordinate relationship, he wouldn't care about it. Zhuge Xiaosheng knew Muyu's character and didn't refuse. He only asked hesitantly, Muyu, why did Taoist Yuanda? Master Lu and Muyu also looked at Muyu. They were waiting for Muyu's explanation. They didn't understand why Muyu wanted to protect Taoist Yuanda. If it wasn't for Muyu stopping them, Taoist Yuanda and Yao Wuji would have been killed by Master Lu and Mu Qinghong. Muyu pondered for a moment. His gaze swept across the faces of the 3 people. Then he said, Everyone in the cultivation world is saying that I have the power of Yaman. Have you guys heard of it? Zhuge Xiaosheng and Master Lu looked at each other. During this period of time, this matter had been spreading everywhere in the cultivation world. Since it was related to their sect master, they naturally attached great importance to it. However, because they couldn't find any traces of Muyu in the past few years, they didn't dare to confirm this matter. Then Muyu, could it be that you really... Master Lu couldn't help but speak first. Muyu nodded. The branch extended from his hand. The tender green leaves shook lightly. Master Lu opened his mouth. Although he was prepared, his prejudice against Yaman was too deep. When he saw the branch in Muyu's hand, he still felt a little uncomfortable. In the eyes of many self-cultivators, Yaman is unforgivable. Humans who have the power of Yaman should also be despised. So if you guys don't believe me and don't want someone with the power of Yaman to be your sect master, I won't say anything. I will also give up the position of sect master. Muyu said calmly. He wasn't someone who was reluctant to leave power. When he became the sect master of the Array Glyph sect, it was only to save the Array Glyph sect and fight for the yin and yang with the Glyph sect master Chong Tianqing. This sect master was actually just a title. He rarely interfered with the matters of the Array Glyph sect. Zhuge Xiaosheng was silent for a moment. Then he smiled and said, Muyu, actually you don't have to explain anything to us. You're the sect master of the Array Glyph sect. You control the yin and yang of the chaos. You can make all of us Array masters and Glyph masters submit to you. That's enough. But I don't want to use this method to keep you in the dark, Muyu said. Zhuge Xiaosheng shook his head. You misunderstood me. What I mean is that no matter what power you have, whether you're related to Yuman or the demon race, the Heavenly Formation Sect's Patriarch places hopes on you because he believes in you. I believe in the Patriarch's judgment, so I also believe in you. Master Lu also nodded and said, I did something wrong back then. I should have been executed according to the sect's rules. You forgave me, so my life is yours. Even if I hate Yuman, I know you're different. I have no reason not to believe you. Mu Qinghong smiled. I believe you because you believed in me back then. He was a spy sent by the Glyph sect, but Mu Yu believed in him and saved him. He always remembered this kindness. Mu Yu looked at the three of them and felt touched. In the Array Glyph sect, only the three of them knew his true identity. The others only knew that their sect master was someone called Feng Mu. They didn't know the relationship between Feng Mu and Mu Yu. All three of them were people that Mu Yu trusted, and he firmly believed in this. However, what Mu Yu really wanted to say was the truth about the Threefold Palace. If I say that the purpose of my existence is to fight against the Threefold Palace, would you believe me? Chapter 895. Mu Yu thought about it again and again. His power alone was still too small. Since he was the sect master of the Formation Glyph Gate, he should use this identity to his advantage. The Threefold Palace was a behemoth, and it would be very difficult to deal with it alone. Mu Yu needed people he could trust to help him. He had to tell the truth to Zhuge, Xiaosheng, and the others. If they didn't want to believe, then Mu Yu wouldn't force it. The road against the Threefold Palace was already very difficult, so Mu Yu was prepared to deal with any misunderstandings. Zhuge, Xiaosheng, and the others had serious expressions. They could accept the fact that Mu Yu had Yuman's ability, but how could they fight against the Threefold Palace and stand against the human race? The atmosphere seemed to freeze in an instant. No one dared to make a sound. If they fought against the Threefold Palace, then they would be despised by the entire cultivation world. Zhuge Xiaosheng was the first to break the silence. Can you tell me the reason? Mu Yu looked at Zhuge Xiaosheng and slowly said, The Threefold Palace is colluding with Yuman. The three were even more shocked after hearing this. When Yuman was acting recklessly, the Threefold Palace could lead the human race to defeat Yuman. It was the hope of the entire cultivation world and the belief of all cultivators. Why would Mu Yu say such disgraceful words? Master Lu's face was a bit restless. His eyes flickered for a long time before he spoke. Mu Yu, you're not someone who speaks without thinking. I will do anything for you. But regarding the collusion between the Threefold Palace and Yuman, is there a misunderstanding? Mu Qinghong frowned and said, Questioning the Threefold Palace is a very dangerous move. It is very likely that our Formation Glyph Gate will lead to eternal damnation. Zhuge Xiaosheng looked at Mu Yu, and his pale face became even more haggard. He said, You can't say things that doubt the Sansheng. Mu Yu knew that they would react this way. The Threefold Palace had created panic, so that all the self-cultivators would treat them as saviors and wait to be saved. The supreme prestige of the Threefold Palace was deeply ingrained in everyone's minds. At this moment, if anyone dared to question the Threefold Palace and wanted to overthrow it, they would definitely be condemned by everyone. If it weren't for the fact that Zhuge Xiaosheng, Lu Xianshi, and Mu Yu were extremely trusted people, he wouldn't have said these words. If it were anyone else who heard Mu Yu say these words, they would treat Mu Yu as a spy sent by Yuman and denounce him. Mu Yu continued, Sect leader, didn't Senior Formation Heavenly Tao tell you what the nature of the three palaces is? Zhuge Xiaosheng shook his head. Ancestor didn't tell me more about the Threefold Palace in detail. Mu Yu was a bit disappointed. He thought Formation Heavenly Tao would tell Zhuge Xiaosheng this, because after Deadwood Daddy's accident, the immortal prison connected the thoughts of all the Guardians together. Formation Heavenly Tao should have seen by Jie's scheme. Lu Xianshi said straightforwardly, Taoist Yuanda must have been bewitched by Yuman. Mu Yu shook his head. If Yuman can even control Taoist Yuanda, who is at the tribulation passing stage, then do you think other self-cultivators can be spared? I'm afraid the human race has already been defeated by Yuman. Lu Xianshi wanted to say something, but stopped. He couldn't find an excuse to refute. No matter how weak a tribulation passing stage cultivator Yuanda was, he still stood at the peak of the cultivation world. He wasn't someone an ordinary unity stage cultivator could compare to. If even someone like this could be controlled by Yumon, then the entire cultivation world wouldn't be able to stop Yumon. Then Taoist Yuanda is... Zhuge Shaoxing asked. Taoist Yuanda is being controlled by the three palaces. Muyu slowly said. Everyone was shocked. The three palaces controlled Taoist Yuanda? This was too inconceivable. Then you're saying that the three palaces want to kill me? Zhuge Shaoxing remembered the white light that lit up when Taoist Yuanda wanted to kill him. Although formation heavenly, Dao didn't tell him the specific situation of the three palaces. He once mentioned that the person with the white light was from the three palaces, so he couldn't calm down. Impossible. The three palaces wouldn't want to kill the sect master. The sect master is now an important figure in the cultivation world. Lu Xianxue couldn't help but say. Yumon made the status of the array masters rise. The entire array sect became another holy land in the eyes of the cultivation world, and Zhuge Shaoxing became a person that all the self-cultivators respected. Sect master, when you repaired the city's defensive array in the past, didn't you find anything wrong? Muyu asked. Zhuge Shaoxing hesitated for a moment and then said, every city's defensive array is missing a part of the array pattern, causing it to be unable to evenly distribute the attacks from outside the array to every corner of the city. I originally thought that it was caused by disrepair, but later I accidentally found out that it was sabotaged by someone. Muyu finished for him. Zhuge Shaoxing nodded, but then his gaze changed slightly. He thought of the legend of the massacre in Dongsha City, and then of Muyu's ability to control wood, and looked at Muyu in shock. Muyu, you didn't do this, did you? The defensive array was a very powerful array that fused with the power of nature. The only person in the array sect who could use the power of nature to set up an array was Zhuge Shaoxing, but Zhuge Shaoxing believed that Muyu also knew the power of nature. Then, Muyu must be one of the people who knew how to destroy the defensive array. Little Shuai scolded without holding back. Hey, you silly old man, you're suspecting us? Muyu and Yumon are fighting to the death, and you're suspecting Muyu instead. You're really saving an ingrate. That's not what I meant. It's just that there aren't many people who can destroy the defensive array. Zhuge Shaoxing looked at Little Shuai awkwardly. He knew that Little Shuai had a close relationship with Muyu. He was the sect master of the array faction, but he was scolded by a little kid who looked like he was only 3 or 4 years old. Muyu continued, this kind of thing was done by the Threefold Palace. Whether you believe me or not, I don't care. But I feel that there's a need to let you know that you should at least be wary of the Threefold Palace. Muyu felt helpless. He knew that it was too difficult to convince others. The White Ape Demon King had said that the Threefold Palace had always worked for the benefit of the human race. But in the White World's generation, it had become neither human nor ghost. It was detestable. This matter was related to the Threefold Palace. This was something that overturned everyone's understanding. Master Lu still couldn't accept it. The atmosphere became awkward again. No one said anything. However, Zhuge Shaoxing suddenly thought of something. He quietly took out an exquisite jade pendant. It was glowing and had a very powerful formation ripple. There was also a familiar aura coming from it that Muyu felt. Zhuge Shaoxing hesitantly looked at Muyu and said, Sect leader, before the ancestor passed away, he said that if one day you have a dangerous idea or do something that others don't understand or even put the sect in danger, I should take out this jade pendant and he will solve all problems. Muyu was surprised. He didn't know that the formation Heavenly Tao had left such a trick for Zhuge Shaoxing. Solve all problems? Sect leader, does the ancestor want to remove Muyu from the position of sect leader? Master Lu was shocked and quickly said, Sect leader, before the matter is clear, you can't do this. Muyu is the hope of our formation glyph sect. Zhuge Shaoxing solemnly said to Master Lu, I don't know what order the ancestor left behind, but he knows all of the mysteries of the heavens. I will unconditionally trust any of his orders. It's not that I don't trust Muyu, but I have to think about our sect's future. Zhuge Xiaosheng hesitated for a moment before persuading. Sect leader, I don't want to offend you or use the ancestors' order to threaten you. You are the first sect leader of the Formation Glyph sect in thousands of years. You can bring glory to our sect and make it one of the 9 sects again. The ancestors' jade pendant is the thing I don't want to use the most. I will support whatever you do, but this matter is too inconceivable. I can't. The sect leader of the Formation Glyph sect was different from the other 8 sections. The 8 sects could directly choose the sect leader, but the sect leader of the Formation Glyph sect had to be recognized by the yin and yang of the chaos. For thousands of years, no one had succeeded. Muyu was the first to become the sect leader of the Formation Glyph sect. He was also the key to the future of the sect. Therefore, Zhuge Xiaosheng didn't want Muyu to lose the position of sect leader. However, as the sect leader of the Formation Glyph sect, he had to consider the future of the sect. Back then, because there was no talent in the Formation Glyph sect, spies from the Glyph sect had sneaked in. He had learned his lesson. In the years when Muyu wasn't around, he had been working hard to rebuild the Formation Glyph sect. The entire Formation Glyph sect had taken on a new look. Now, because of Yumon's appearance, the Formation Glyph sect had started to be valued by the cultivation world. The Formation Glyph sect's position was vaguely comparable to the 8 sections. This should have been something to be happy about. The Formation Glyph sect could rely on Yumon to rise up and restore the glory of the Formation Glyph sect. However, as the sect leader of the Formation Glyph sect, Muyu had said something as shocking as going against the 3 palaces. If Zhuge Xiaosheng chose to believe in Muyu, it meant that the Formation Glyph sect would have to go against the cultivation world. It would be impossible for them to rise up. Zhuge Xiaosheng wanted the Formation Glyph sect to flourish. Muyu controlled the yin and yang and the chaos and was extremely talented. In a few more years, Muyu would definitely bring the Formation Glyph sect to glory. This was something Zhuge Xiaosheng had always wanted to see. He didn't want Muyu to lose his position as sect leader because of a piece of jade from the Formation Glyph sect. Muyu looked at the jade in Zhuge Xiaosheng's hand and suddenly said, "Use this jade." Zhuge Xiaosheng paused and hurriedly said, "Sect leader, that's not what I meant. You have to understand the Patriarch's power. Even if he's no longer around, he still has the power to control everything. This jade might make you know that I have the Formation Hall and the Formation Glyph Stone. I can make all of you unable to resist, right?" Black and white energy appeared in Muyu's hand. This was the energy of the yin and yang. The moment the yin and yang appeared, both Zhuge Xiaosheng and Master Lu felt an uncontrollable sense of awe rise from the bottom of their hearts. The formation runes in their body also changed along with the flow of the yin and yang. Even the entire formation hall began to emit a majestic aura. The yin and yang controlled the formation hall. The formation hall's formation covered the entire formation sect. As long as an array master or talisman master was within the formation, they would be controlled by Muyu. Zhuge Xiaosheng felt that the spiritual power flowing in his body was being suppressed. He couldn't use any formation, and he couldn't even control the jade pendant in his hand. "I can control everyone in the formation sect, but I don't want to because I respect your opinions," Muyu softly said. The yin and yang aura of the yin and yang disappeared without a trace in the blink of an eye. Zhuge Xiaosheng and the others seemed to be relieved. The heavy feeling in their hearts had dissipated. Little Shuai continued to scold. "Muddle-headed old man. Do you know what price Muyu had to pay to save you? We only got a total of 4 magic weapons with domain ability. In order to save you guys, we used 2 of them at once. Not to mention, one of them was specially used on you. You're good now. You're suspicious here and there. It's annoying." Zhuge Xiaosheng was a little surprised. He had naturally heard of domain ability. It was an ability that only great ascension stage cultivators had. A domain ability could destroy the heavens and earth. It was extremely precious. He didn't expect Muyu to pay such a big price to save him. Zhuge Xiaosheng now understood what Muyu had done for him. He was moved but also terrified. He quickly said, "Please forgive me, Sect Master. I didn't know." Muyu shook his head. There's nothing to forgive. I will save anyone I think is worth saving. It doesn't matter what price I have to pay. Zhuge Xiaosheng smiled bitterly. He hesitated for a moment. In the end, he put away the jade and said, "Tell me about the Sanchong Palace." Muyu had the yin and yang primal chaos. If he wanted to force Zhuge Xiaosheng and all the people in the formation sect to do something, there was no need to discuss it with Zhuge Xiaosheng and the others. He could just use the yin and yang primal chaos to force them to do something. Even Zhuge Xiaosheng couldn't resist this. Muyu said, "You should use that jade." Zhuge Xiaosheng shook his head. "No need. I don't think I'm qualified to use it. Our formation sect can't do without you." No one knew how strong formation Heavenly Tao was back then. However, his formation technique was second to none and was very powerful. The things he left behind were also very powerful. It wasn't impossible to remove Muyu from the position of sect master. Muyu looked at Zhuge Xiaosheng and said slowly, "I also want to know what senior formation Heavenly Tao wants to do to me." Chapter 896. Zhuge Xiaosheng hesitated and said, "Muyu, the jade pendant left behind by the patriarch is not something ordinary. It is very likely that he will make you lose your position as the patriarch." "That's not necessarily true." Muyu revealed a relieved smile. Zhuge Xiaosheng said seriously, "Muyu, this is not something you can joke about." "I'm not joking," Muyu said. Zhuge Xiaosheng still didn't understand. He looked at Muyu, but Muyu's expression was very natural. He took out the jade pendant again. When the patriarch gave it to him, he looked like he was betting on something, as if he was hesitating about whether his actions were correct. Zhuge Xiaosheng couldn't figure out what the patriarch was thinking, but he didn't ask. The white formation runes slowly entered the jade pendant from Zhuge Xiaosheng's hand. The jade pendant emitted a faint light. Within the faint light, the majestic aura of a ray, Heavenly Tao, swept out like a vast galaxy of stars. Zhuge Xiaosheng and the others couldn't help but feel respect. The Threefold Palace is not a good person. Muyu believes it. This short sentence seemed to have traversed through time and space, but when it landed in the ears of Zhuge Xiaosheng and the other two, they were stunned. There is no powerful formation that could be used to seize Muyu's position as the sect master. There is only this sentence, simple yet heavy. It contained a supreme might, but it also seemed to be staking everything on a single throw, causing one's heart to tremble. Muyu looked at the figure of a ray, Heavenly Tao, and smiled. He wasn't surprised at all. In this world, among the people Muyu trusted, only Chun Feng and Withered Tree Evergreen had formation skills that Muyu couldn't compare to. There was one more that Muyu couldn't catch up to, Array Heavenly Tao. Back then, formation Heavenly Tao, Withered Tree Evergreen, Bai Jie, and Xie Bulo helped Jianing and Chun Feng stabilize Immortal Confinement Prison. The moment Withered Tree Evergreen died, the guardians of Immortal Confinement Prison had a temporary memory connection. Formation Heavenly Tao also saw Bai Jie's hidden scheme and knew the truth of the war between humans and demons. Array Heavenly Tao gave the sect to Muyu because he believed that Muyu could stop the Threefold Palace's scheme. However, he also knew what kind of predicament Muyu would face in the future. When everyone worshipped the Threefold Palace as a god, if Muyu wanted to convince others and expose the conspiracy of the Threefold Palace, no one would believe him. That's why Array Heavenly Tao had a backup plan. The doubt in Zhuge Xiaosheng's eyes dissipated and his expression turned solemn. The Heavenly Array Tao was one of his beliefs. If the Heavenly Array Tao said the Threefold Palace wasn't benevolent, then it definitely wasn't benevolent. Array Heavenly Tao's figure turned towards Muyu. He seemed to have his own consciousness and knew that Muyu was standing there. His eyes were deep as if he could see through everything. "I entrusted Array Heavenly Tao to you. Destruction is the fate of Array Heavenly Tao. I would rather die than live in a lie. Chun Feng and Withered Tree Evergreen trusted you, so I trust you as well." Array Heavenly Tao glanced at everyone. Then, his shadow gradually disappeared into the jade pendant. Zhuge Shaosheng had no more doubts. He could doubt anything but the jade because it had always been with him. No one had the chance to tamper with it. He solemnly bowed towards Mu Yu. I am willing to follow you until death. I am willing to follow you until death. Master Lu and Mu Qinghong also bowed. Mu Yu helped the three of them up and nodded. Now, I can tell you all the details of what happened in the Threefold Palace. Yuan the Taoist had lost his memory. He had forgotten everything. He had forgotten who he was, why he was here, and what had happened. He kept muttering one sentence. It was also the only sentence he remembered. I am not a coward. I am not a coward. I am not a coward. Yuan the Taoist curled up in the corner and muttered to himself. He had a pained expression. He tried his best to remember, but the more he thought, the more his head hurt. He couldn't remember. Mu Yu looked at Yuan the Taoist silently. Yao Wuji stood at the side with a dim expression. That day, Junior's sister wanted to kill Shi Dengtian. No one could stop her. It was Senior Uncle who stopped her. Senior Uncle blamed himself for leaving the dead tree that day. Xue Bing, who knew the truth, was extremely furious. When Junior's sister was young, Junior sister's mother also went out with Senior Uncle. Senior Uncle left temporarily for a while, causing Senior Uncle's wife to die in the mouth of a monster. Junior sister still refuses to forgive him. Yao Wuji said slowly. That day, Junior sister said one sentence to Senior Uncle. Mother died because you left. The dead tree died because you left. Back then, you didn't dare to take revenge on that monster. Now, you are stopping me from taking revenge. You will only be a coward. Yao Wuji continued. Junior sister was very decisive. Senior Uncle wanted to stop her, but he couldn't. Junior sister's words had hurt his heart. When Senior Aunt was in trouble, Senior Uncle was only in the out-of-body stage. He didn't know what monster killed Senior Aunt, because other than bloodstains and torn clothes, there was nothing left. That monster was very smart. Mu Yu walked to the side of Taoist Yuanda. Looking at this pitiful old man, he patted his shoulder and said, You are not a coward. Don't mind it. I will deal with the dead tree myself. It has nothing to do with you. Back then, the reason why Taoist Yuanda left the dead tree was because the Threefold Palace sent him away. Mu Yu had never complained about Taoist Yuanda. Every injustice has its perpetrator, and every debt has its debtor. Taoist Yuanda did not do anything. Even if he stopped his daughter from killing Shi Dengtian, it was to prevent Lung Bingxue from making a mistake. This was because Lung Bingxue didn't have any evidence to prove that the dead tree was related to Shi Dengtian. If she killed Shi Dengtian in front of everyone, she would be imprisoned for life. Taoist Yuanda raised his head and looked at Mu Yu. His turbid eyes were filled with confusion. He didn't know who Mu Yu was. I'm not a coward. I'm not. Taoist Yuanda was sobbing as he tightly grabbed onto Mu Yu's clothes. He was like an abandoned old man who was looking for a safe haven. He had forgotten everything. The only thing he didn't forget was what his daughter said to him. This was because those words hurt him too deeply. You are a good person, not a coward. Mu Yu held onto Taoist Yuanda's hand tightly. He was only a victim controlled by the Threefold Palace. Mu Yu sighed. He stood up and said to Yao Wuji, Grandmaster Yao, I have something that I need your help with. Just say it. I will do my best. Yao Wuji didn't even ask Mu Yu what it was. Mu Yu waved his hand. The solar ray had already enveloped Yao Wuji. Yao Wuji's gaze turned slack. I'm sorry, Grandmaster Yao. I have to do this. Mu Yu had an apologetic look on his face. Yao Wuji couldn't stay in the array sect forever. He had to return to the Pill Cauldron sect. Yao Wuji was different from Zhuge Shaosheng. In company Mu, you could tell Zhuge Shaosheng and Co. about the truth of the Threefold Palace. However, he couldn't tell Yao Wuji about it. As a member of the Pill Cauldron sect, Yao Wuji might not believe Mu Yu's words. Mu Yu also didn't want to make things difficult for him. He intended to modify Yao Wuji's memories. He wanted him to leave the Array sect and return to the Pill Cauldron sect to spread the news. As for Taoist Yuanda, Mu Yu didn't want him to return to the Pill Cauldron sect. Otherwise, the Threefold Palace might kill him to keep the secret. Now that Taoist Yuanda was in such a state, before he recovered, he had to stay in the Array sect. With Zhuge Xiaoxing's strength, there was no doubt that he would be able to keep an eye on Taoist Yuanda. Sect Master, recuperate well. From now on, don't participate in anything in the cultivation world. Don't recruit any more disciples. Don't leave the Array sect to do anything. Seal the Array sect. The Array Hall and the Array Talisman Stone can stop the people from the Threefold Palace from infiltrating. Mu Yu instructed. I understand. Zhuge Xiaoxing nodded. Mu Yu, when you go to the Pill Cauldron sect, be careful. Don't let anything happen. Master Lu said worriedly. Mu Qinghong looked at Mu Yu and said, You have never disappointed me. Mu Qinghong's eyes were very clear, like a pool of clear water. Mu Yu nodded. Now, only they knew the truth of the Threefold Palace. Mu Yu told them everything in detail. Although they were shocked by the actions of the Threefold Palace, they no longer had any doubts. Master Lu, Taoist Yuanda was controlled by the Threefold Palace. Just like how you were controlled by Zhou Jinglin, you can't control yourself. Do you understand? Don't hurt him. Take good care of him. Don't let the news that he is still alive leak out. Mu Yu looked at Master Lu seriously. Master Lu's face was red. When he was controlled by Zhou Jinglin, he almost caused the destruction of the Array sect. He had the deepest feelings about being controlled and understood what it meant. It was a state of ignorance. When you woke up, the mistake was already irreversible. If it wasn't for Mu Yu, the Array sect would have been destroyed in his hands. I understand, Mu Yu. Master Lu nodded solemnly. He looked at Taoist Yuanda, who was curled up in the corner with some pity. The killing intent in his heart towards Taoist Yuanda disappeared. Mu Yu prepared to leave with Yao Wuji, but Mu Qinghong suddenly said, Are you really not going to see your brother? Mu Yu stopped. You didn't tell him the truth, did you? Mu Qinghong said, I didn't tell him your identity. He has been asking what kind of person you are. He wants to know about your past. He thinks you are a hero who saved the human race. He is waiting for you to stand up and lead the human race to defeat Yaman one day. Mu Yu was silent for a long time. He shook his head and said, I am not. Mu Yu didn't want to tell Mu Hao the truth because he didn't want his brother's fantasy to be broken. Mu Hao worshipped him and took him for granted. He worked hard to learn from the big brother Mu Yu in his heart. However, Mu Yu is already standing on the opposite side of the human race. He couldn't become the human race's hero, nor would he become the human race's hero. Mu Qinghong continued. He will find out the truth one day. I know. Mu Yu sighed slightly. He didn't care about other people's gazes, but he always kept a trace of inexplicable hope toward his brother, who worshipped him blindly. Chapter 897. The news of Danding's sect being invaded by Yuman had caused a huge uproar. However, after nearly half a month, it was still unclear how Yuman appeared. The fate of Taoist Yuanda and Zhuge Xiaoxing was unknown, and the reputation of Danding's sect was severely questioned. Taoist Yundan was burning with anxiety. Taoist Yuanda was one of the pillars of Danding's sect, but he did not expect such a thing to happen. Now that he was being questioned by the cultivation world, it made him even more exhausted. And on this day, Grandmaster Medicine returned. Grandmaster Medicine's appearance could be said to have brought hope to Danding's sect. Taoist Yundan immediately went to find Yao Wuji and asked him about what happened in the past. What they wanted to know the most was where Taoist Yuanda and Zhuge Xiaoxing were at this time. However, what everyone heard was a shocking nightmare. In order to protect everyone, Taoist Yuanda stayed behind by himself. In the end, he lost his life in the hands of Yaman. Zhuge Xiaoxing used all his strength to escape with everyone and used the teleportation array to return to Array sect. At this time, he was already seriously injured and was in closed-door cultivation. When this news came out, it shocked the entire Danding sect and also the entire cultivation world. Taoist Yuanda's death caused the entire Danding sect to be gloomy and gloomy. An 8th-tier alchemist dying in the hands of Yaman was equivalent to breaking an arm of Danding's sect. It caused everyone to feel deeply regretful. These reactions were all within Mu Yu's expectations. He had already turned into a tree branch and followed Yao Wuji into Danding sect for 2 days. In these 2 days, Yao Wuji needed to tell Taoist Yundan about this matter and was called for all kinds of questions. Therefore, he did not have the time to bring Mu Yu to the teleportation array. Mu Yu could only wait for Yao Wuji to finish his business. The teleportation array of the second heaven was an important place of Danding's sect. In the past, when Mu Yu went to the second heaven, he had gone there once. However, the place was heavily guarded, and there would be a guard hiding in the shadows almost every 10 steps. There were also some special mechanisms that could eliminate the camouflage of array techniques. Mu Yu wanted to quietly approach the place. He needed Yao Wuji's help. On Black Rainbow Peak, Kai Lai was now at the first layer of the spirit severing stage. His talent was very high, but he was still an alchemist. His focus was usually on alchemy. Being able to reach the spirit severing stage at this age was inseparable from the fact that Mu Yu had helped him remove the wood dregs. At this time, Ellie was excitedly playing with Xiao Shuai. He even took out his secret stash of roast duck and soju for Xiao Shuai to eat. Mu Yu didn't hide anything from him. He appeared in front of Kai Lai and told him some things. Kai Lai was Mu Yu's good friend, so Mu Yu trusted him. So, my master was saved by you. I can't thank you enough. If you need anything in the future, feel free to look for me. Kai Lai said gratefully. Mu Yu smiled and asked, Pill Cauldron sect was ambushed by Yumon this time. How is your Pill Cauldron sect's reputation in the cultivation world? Kai Lai's face became serious. He touched his chin and said, This incident caused an uproar in the entire cultivation world. Sect Master Martial Uncle was furious. Everyone has doubts about our Pill Cauldron sect. You also know that when the White Ape Demon King escaped from our Pill Cauldron sect, our reputation was hit. Now, Yumon killed people in our Pill Cauldron sect's territory and left. Now, something happened to Ancestor Yuna, but alchemists will never be outdated. Even if there is a war with Yumeng in the future, the cultivators will still rely on you, so they won't do anything to you. Mu Yu said. He didn't tell Kai Lai about the Sanchong Palace. He knew what to say and what not to say. Before he confirmed the matter, he didn't want to make things difficult for Kai Lai. That's true, but it won't be good if word gets out. However, our Pill Cauldron sect invited 2 mysterious tribulation passing experts. Those 2 tribulation passing experts are said to be geniuses ranked 13th and 14th on the extreme immortal ranking. They seem to owe Shi Dangtian a favor, so they're willing to. As Kai Lai spoke till here, he suddenly shut his mouth tactfully. He knew that the person Mu Yu wanted to kill was Shi Dangtian. So Shi Dangtian has 2 tribulation passing experts protecting him? Mu Yu asked calmly. The 13th and 14th extreme immortals. Without a doubt, these 2 were the Sanchong Palace's minions. The Sanchong Palace had indeed reached their hands into the Pill Cauldron sect. Xiao Shuai muttered, Little white guy who just won't leave. Kai Lai didn't know Mu Yu's current cultivation. To prevent Mu Yu from doing something inappropriate, he quickly reminded him, Shi Dangtian is now a famous person in the Pill Cauldron sect. You need to be careful before you do anything. No matter how famous he is, I'll still kill him. Mu Yu didn't hide anything. Shi Dangtian was someone he had to kill. As for the 2 people sent by the Sanchong Palace, they were definitely here to investigate Taoist Yunda. If there was a chance, Mu Yu would also think of a way to kill them. Kai Lai shook his head. It's very difficult for you to kill him now. At the very least, you have to deal with 2 tribulation passing experts. Let me tell you about the current situation of the Pill Cauldron sect. You should know that it's very difficult for us pill refiners to reach the tribulation passing stage. Originally, our Pill Cauldron sect had 3 tribulation passing experts. With 3 tribulation passing experts, it was enough to be on equal footing with the 8 sections. However, something happened to Ancestor Yuenda, which means that the Pill Cauldron sect strength will be questioned. The 2 extreme immortals invited by Shi Dangtian have undoubtedly given our Pill Cauldron school a breather at this time. It is equivalent to sending charcoal in snowy weather. When Taoist Yunda met with a mishap, the Pill Cauldron sect strength was questioned by the cultivation world. 2 tribulation passing experts came to the Pill Cauldron sect to help stabilize their position and reputation. Kai Lai said helplessly. Think about it. They're extreme immortals. This means that they're not even 40 years old. They're two geniuses. Sure, Deng Tian can be said to have made a great contribution to the Pill Cauldron sect. With two tribulation-passing experts willing to protect the Pill Cauldron sect, this is a big deal for our weak Pill Cauldron sect. Then, Kai Lai suddenly slapped his thigh and said, "That's right, I forgot. Aren't you also ranked 19th among the extreme immortals? Speaking of which, you've also reached the tribulation-passing stage?" Kai Lai looked at Mu Yu with a fervent expression. "Yes, I killed 19th, Mu Yu nodded. "That's great. This means that our Pill Cauldron sect has 3 tribulation-passing experts. We don't need to rely on these 2 outsiders." Kai Lai waved his fist. He couldn't wait to tell this news to the others. After all, Mu Yu was also the branch master of the Pill Cauldron sect's Green Bamboo Peak. "Kai Lai, you know that because of the rumors in the outside world, I can't reveal that I'm at the Pill Cauldron sect, right?" Mu Yu said. Kai Lai remembered Mu Yu's current identity. Now, many people in the cultivation world were crusading against Mu Yu. They thought that Mu Yu and Yaman were in cahoots. At this time, Mu Yu's identity was very sensitive. "I don't believe in those damn rumors," Kai Lai said disdainfully. Then, he looked at Mu Yu and said, "You really don't want to tell Sect Master Martial Uncle about your return? You know, Sect Master Martial Uncle doesn't seem to welcome the 2 extreme immortals invited by Shi Deng Tian. Because he said that our Pill Cauldron sect has you, we don't need to rely on those 2 outsiders. If he knows that you're back, he'll definitely be more excited than me. My reputation in the outside world isn't very good right now. Don't tell him yet," Mu Yu said. Kai Lai was a little disappointed. He thought that with Mu Yu's return, the Pill Cauldron sect could rely on themselves. They didn't need to be led by the nose by the 2 guests brought by Shi Deng Tian. Mu Yu continued to ask, "Do you have information on the Extreme Immortal Leaderboard? What are the names of those 2 people?" Kai Lai took out the most detailed Extreme Immortal Leaderboard and handed it to Mu Yu. Then, he said, "The top 20 on the Extreme Immortal Leaderboard don't have any background information, only their names." "Oh, right. Except for Xiang Nan, who's ranked 9th. Wait, tell me first, is Xiang Nan really your senior? The other disciple of a true god?" Kai Lai was very curious about this matter. "What? Do you still believe that my master is a true god?" Mu Yu smiled faintly. Then, he flipped open the Extreme Immortal Leaderboard and began to read it in detail. Kai Lai nodded. "I'm different from those people. Sword Shadow Chun Feng is a true god. I won't be swayed by rumors. I've always felt that the rumors in the outside world are maliciously slandering you. There's no doubt about our relationship." "You're right." Mu Yu knew that Kai Lai's words were sincere. Mu Yu had already scanned the top 20 names. Among the top 20, only 3 names were written very clearly. Xiang Nan, Sword Shadow Chun Feng's disciple, possessor of 2 Yuming's ability, one of the 5 most dangerous people in the cultivation world. Dharma Treasure, Stargazing Sword, inheritor of the Heavenly Sword 9 Guides, can control 2 Yaman, the mastermind of the Pill Cauldron sect's attack on 2 Yaman. Taoist Yuanda and Zhuge Shaosheng have both died in his hands. His cultivation level is at least above the 5th heaven of the Tribulation Transcendent stage. He was involved in the massacre of the 5 cities in the cultivation world. He then looked at his own information. Mu Yu, Sword Shadow Chun Feng's disciple, possessor of 2 Yuming's ability, one of the 5 most dangerous people in the cultivation world. Dharma Treasure, Shadow Clone Sword, inheritor of the Heavenly Sword 9 Guides, can control 2 Yaman, one of the masterminds of the massacre of 10,000 cultivators in Clearwater City's Great Wilderness, one of the masterminds of the massacre of 50,000 mortals in Misty Breath City. His cultivation level is at least above the 5th heaven of the Tribulation Transcendent stage. Mu Yu frowned. Then, he looked at Luo Shang's and Qingyin's information. Even Xiao Shui was mentioned as Sword Shadow Chun Feng's disciple. She was involved in all kinds of massacres of cultivators and the massacre of the cities. There was even a bounty of 50 million spirit stones for the 5 of them. The information on the Supreme Immortal Leaderboard was spread by the supreme immortal pavilions of the various cities. Under the control of the threefold palace, the supreme immortal pavilions pinned all the crimes of the Yuman massacres on the 5 of them. This was to force them into a corner. The supreme immortal pavilions are really bastards. You can't believe a single word they say, Kai Lai said indignantly. If you have a mind to condemn someone, you can always find a pretext, Mu Yu said calmly. For Mu Yu, who had massacred the Eastern Sand City, he already knew how to deal with the matter of killing people. If anyone dared to find trouble with him, he would just kill them. Foolish and selfish cultivators deserve to die. If he didn't kill these cultivators, then people like the old city lord He Jinglong and Xian Zhengtang's family would be killed. He wouldn't allow the same thing to happen again. He came to the Elixir Cauldron sect to research the ancient teleportation array and create his own array technique to save those who were grateful and still had a conscience. He didn't want to save those cowards who would push others to their deaths just to save their own lives. Look, you're worth 50 million spirit stones. Your value is really high. Kai Lai pointed at the note at the bottom of the supreme immortal leaderboard and grinned. Ah, Mu Yu, you've lowered the price? Didn't you sell it for 70 million spirit stones last time? Little Shuai asked with a lisp. Mu Yu flicked little Shuai's little head again. Just eat your roast duck. Aren't you going to ask me if this is true? Mu Yu smiled slightly. Of course it's false. Don't I know you well? Kai Lai replied without hesitation. Mu Yu didn't say anything. There was only one thing that was true, and that was the incident in the Eastern Sand City. There was once 100,000 people who died in front of him, and he was powerless to do anything about it. How much do you know about the 2 Tribulation Transcendence stage Extreme Immortals? Mu Yu asked. Kai Lai shook his head. I've only seen them once. They were very mysterious and refused to show their faces. Their entire bodies were wrapped in hoods. The 2 of them are said to be itinerant cultivators who came to the Pill Cauldron sect because they owed Senior Uncle Shur a favor. One of them is called Qian Shange, and he's ranked 13th. The other is called Wan Shui Song, and he's ranked 14th. Because they're used to keeping a low profile, they didn't even take off their hoods when they saw the sect master. Senior Uncle Shur seemed to be very unhappy because their actions were impolite. Now, the 2 of them are staying at Senior Uncle Shur's Tianji Peak and don't go out. Is there anything else special about them? Mu Yu already had an idea. Kai Lai tilted his head and thought for a moment. Yes, their figures give off a very sacred feeling. How do I describe that feeling? Other than reverence, there's only reverence. They look like they're very righteous people. Righteous? You can see righteousness just by looking at the 2 of them wearing hoods. Kai Lai, don't you think I'm ridiculously handsome? Little Shuai interrupted. He was happily gnawing on Kai Lai's roast duck. Kai Lai had hidden a lot of roast ducks, and more than half of them were already in Little Shuai's stomach. Kai Lai was a little distressed. No, I just see a narcissist. Also, don't finish the roast duck. Leave some for me. Kai Lai pulled Little Shuai's tail and wanted to snatch the last duck leg. However, Little Shuai stuffed the duck but into Kai Lai's hand. He was much faster than Kai Lai. Little Shuai turned into a little beast. Mu Yu did not let him run around, nor did he let him turn into a human. It was convenient for him to bring Little Shuai away in case of an accident. Little Shuai was another symbol to confirm Mu Yu's identity. It would be very troublesome if other people saw him. All right, there's one more thing that I forgot to mention. After Ancestor Yu and his accident, Shur Dingtian mysteriously broke through to the form synthesis stage. He's now considered a rank 7 pill master. He's very important to the sect. Even so, I still hope that you... Kai Lai hesitated. It has nothing to do with you. I don't want to drag you into this. Mu Yu replied simply. Kai Lai took a big gulp of strong wine and snorted heavily. No, what I want to say is, I still hope that you can kill him. Chapter 898. What's going on? Mu Yu was deeply surprised. He thought that Kai Lai would come to mediate, but instead, he said something that seemed to be very disgraceful. In the current state of Pill Cauldron sect, a 7th-order alchemist was extremely precious. Kai Lai, as a disciple of Pill Cauldron sect, had actually said that he wanted to kill Shi Dingtian. If other Pill Cauldron sect disciples were to hear this, he would be severely punished. Xiao Shui also asked curiously, "Brother Kai Lai, are you drunk?" "I'm not drunk." Kai Lai spat out heavily and said, "Shi Dingtian is ambitious and wants to take over Danding sect." "Take over Danding sect?" Muyu frowned. "What do you mean?" "My master has been missing for more than half a month, and everyone thought that something had happened to him. Just the day before yesterday, Shi Dingtian came to our Black Rainbow Peak in the name of mourning for my master. As a result, he found several elders of our Black Rainbow Peak to discuss the position of Branch Master." Kai Lai seemed to be angry when he thought of this. He took another sip of wine and said, "I accidentally overheard Shi Dingtian saying that the reason why Danding sect is being questioned in the cultivation world is because we are not united internally. There are 5 branch masters in Danding sect, and their power is not centralized enough. They are unable to effectively respond quickly after an incident, so he thinks that the 5 branch master system should be abolished." He's just spouting nonsense. The 5 branch masters each have their own way of doing things, but in fact, Danding Peak's Taoist Cloud Core is the main branch. In the face of major events, the disciples of each branch must unconditionally listen to the sect master's orders. There has never been a situation where they have not responded quickly enough. Kai Lai said angrily. Muyu was silent for a moment and asked, "So he convinced the elders of your branch?" Kai Lai nodded helplessly. "He brought a great immortal. I don't know if it was Qian Shange or Wan Shui Yao, but it was one of the two. That extreme immortal didn't say anything. He just sat there, and we were filled with awe." Kai Lai said worriedly, "Danding sect has 5 branch masters, but Martial Uncle Kumu, that is, your branch exists in name only. Elder Lung Bingxue ran away from home, and the position of branch master was originally reclaimed by Grandmaster Yunda. Now, it is also a group of dragons without a leader, and my master also thought that something had happened. Our branch has yet to choose a candidate for the branch master, and sure, Deng Tian wanted to take advantage of the situation. Now that master pharmacist is back, doesn't that mean that he has become a stumbling block?" Muyu asked. Kai Lai nodded. "That's why I don't know if it's a good thing for you to save my master. To tell you the truth, a few days ago, there were already rumors spreading. Many disciples actually said that Shi Deng Tian brought back 2 extreme immortals of the Crossing Calamity stage as guest elders. If he becomes the head, he will definitely make the Pill Cauldron School better." Muyu snorted coldly and said, "Is Shi Deng Tian trying to overthrow Taoist Cloud Core and become the sect leader himself? Would the other reclusive seniors agree to this? Doesn't the Pill Cauldron School still have 2 Crossing Calamity stage elders?" Kai Lai said solemnly, "That's the strange part. I heard that the 2 Crossing Calamity stage seniors called Martial Uncle Cloud Core over and reprimanded him. They said that the Pill Cauldron School was in imminent danger under his leadership, and that it even involved you." "Involved me? Have you forgotten? When Martial Uncle Kumu passed on the position of branch master to you, Martial Uncle sect leader was very angry, but he still let you become the branch master. In fact, if he didn't admit it, you wouldn't have been able to save Martial Uncle Kumu like that. Moreover, because you released the Demon King, the reputation of the Pill Cauldron School suffered a blow. However, Martial Uncle sect leader didn't pursue this matter with you. Therefore, all of your actions were dug out by the 2 Crossing Calamity stage seniors." Kai Lai paused and continued, "Now, I heard that the 2 seniors are going to seriously pursue this matter with you. Back then, Martial Uncle sect leader allowed you to participate in the Pill Cauldron School's pill test and obtain a place to enter the 2nd layer of heaven. Now, it has become a stain on his record as the sect leader. That day, the 2 seniors even reprimanded him in front of all the disciples, saying that he should reconsider looking for a new sect leader." Muyu's heart was strangely calm. "They proposed that Shi Deng Tian be the sect leader, didn't they?" Kai Lai nodded and then said, "However, this matter of becoming the sect leader has to be approved by at least half of the elders. Even if he's dismissed, it's still the same. Therefore, it hasn't been implemented yet. Therefore, Shi Dingtian has started to come to our door. Right now, people related to me won't have it easy. You should be careful, Muyu reminded him. Perhaps Kai Lai didn't know why the two crossing calamity stage seniors of the Pill Cauldron School would do such an unreasonable thing, but Muyu knew. Back then, Taoist Yuanda said that those whose cultivation had reached the crossing calamity stage would have to go to the third layer palace. Since Taoist Yuanda was controlled, the two seniors should have suffered the same fate. Otherwise, they wouldn't have reprimanded Taoist Yundan in front of everyone. Compared to Taoist Yundan, Shi Dingtian could perfectly execute the orders of the third layer palace. Presumably, the two Qian Shange and Wan Shuiyao were sent by the third layer palace to assist Shi Dingtian. Muyu's heart suddenly moved. He looked into the depths of the forest and then said, "Your master is back." Not long after, Yao Wuji walked back. His face was filled with anger, as if he was angry about something. Muyu didn't avoid anything. He used a soul formation on Yao Wuji. Even if he stood in front of Muyu, he couldn't see Muyu. He didn't even know of Muyu's existence. When he was questioned by Taoist Yundan, he only answered according to the memory that Muyu helped him tamper with. All of this was for safety reasons. Muyu had to ensure that Yao Wuji didn't leak anything. Kai Lai didn't know this. He asked worriedly, "Master, are you okay? They didn't do anything to you, right?" Yao Wuji sighed. "I'm fine, but it seems like something big is going to happen in the Pill Cauldron School." Something big? Kai Lai didn't understand. 7 days later, two Tribulation Stage elders will personally host a meeting to decide whether or not to remove the current sect leader. All the disciples of the Pill Cauldron School will be invited to watch the ceremony and hold a voting ceremony. Every elder has the right to participate in this voting. Once more than half of the people agree, Senior Yundan will be forced to give up his position. Yao Wuji clenched his fists. Kai Lai was also shocked by this news. "Master, is this true?" He originally thought that this matter wouldn't progress so quickly. He didn't expect Shi Dingtian's speed to be so fast. Yao Wuji snorted coldly. "Shi Dingtian, this heartless and unscrupulous guy. I didn't expect that he would dare to do such a disgraceful thing. It was a mistake to be too lenient on him. I really don't understand. What are Master Hong Yuan and Master Hong Yi thinking? They decided to remove the sect leader so hastily? Isn't this a joke?" Muyu sat silently at the side. The reason why the Triple Palace chose to support Shi Dingtian was probably because Shi Dingtian had a grudge with him. They didn't need to control Shi Dingtian at all. They could make Shi Dingtian do what the Triple Palace wanted. Yao Wuji seemed to have thought of something. He stood up and said, "That's right. I'm going to the teleportation array." "Master, what teleportation array?" Kai Lai asked. "I don't know, but I feel that this matter can't be delayed." Yao Wuji hurriedly left. Muyu said softly, "Remember, don't mention anything about me to anyone. Also, don't tell anyone where your master went, especially Shi Dingtian." As he said that, he turned into a ray of light and followed behind Yao Wuji. Naturally, this was what he controlled Master Yao to do. The Pill Cauldron Sect's teleportation array to the second layer of heaven was located on an extremely inconspicuous mountain. Although this mountain was inconspicuous, there were actually countless experts hidden in the mountain forest. When Muyu came here, he was only at the nascent soul stage. He thought that the guards here were also only at the nascent soul stage. However, Yao Wuji told him that there were many body integration stage experts guarding here. They were not alchemists, but cultivators who were willing to guard here. Most of them were willing to guard here for the precious pills. Muyu wasn't familiar with this place. He wasn't afraid of these form synthesis stage cultivators, but he didn't want to act rashly and alert the enemy. Once these form synthesis stage guard were alerted, he was afraid that the entire Danding School would besiege him. Especially now that he was alone, and the Danding School had 4 crossing calamity stage cultivators. He had no chance of winning. Exposing his identity was a very troublesome matter. Muyu had to be careful. As the head of the sect, Yao Wuji could enter and leave any place in the Pill Cauldron sect. However, Even if he came here, he had to be checked. There were two incomparably old men guarding the entrance of the cave. They looked very old. Their hair was sparse, and their faces were filled with wrinkles. They looked like they could not even open their eyes. It was as if they would die in the next moment. However, Muyu knew that these two people were at the 9th layer of the body integration stage. Only a big force like the Pill Cauldron sect could invite experts at the 9th layer of the body integration stage to guard here. Yao Wuji had already told Muyu that the reason why these two people were guarding here was because they did not have much time left and were afraid of dying. Therefore, they came here to seek the highest level of life-prolonging pill. In exchange, they had to serve the Pill Cauldron sect. At this time, the two body integration stage old men were playing chess under a tree at the entrance of the cave. One of them was hesitating and did not make a move for a long time. Master Yao. One of the old men nodded at Yao Wuji. Yao Wuji gave them a simple greeting and directly entered the cave. They did not ask Yao Wuji what he was doing here. Although this was an important place of the Pill Cauldron sect, Yao Wuji was a branch head of the Pill Cauldron sect. No matter what he was doing here, it had nothing to do with the two of them. They were only responsible for not letting idle people enter. There were layers of stairs in the cave. Every 10 steps, there was a figure hiding in the shadows. It was heavily guarded. However, they all knew Yao Wuji and did not stop him. Soon, they arrived in front of the blue water curtain. When passing through this water curtain, they could not use any spiritual power. This was something that Taoist Yin Dan had already told them when he brought them here. However, at this moment, a voice came from the water curtain. "Brother Yao, what are you doing here?" Chapter 899. It was Shi Dangtian. Not only that, but there were also two hooded and robed people following behind him. These two people must be Qian Shange and Wan Shuiyao, who were ranked 13th and 14th respectively. The aura of these two people was obscure and powerful. Even through the hood of their robes, one could feel the faint pressure coming from them. In addition to these three men, there were two white-haired old men standing behind Shi Dangtian. Although their auras were not as strong as Qian Shange and Wan Shuiyao, they were still genuine transcending tribulation cultivators. They must be the two Taoists of Pill Cauldron sect, Hong Yuan and Hong Yi, who had the same seniority as Taoist Yuanda. Hong Yuan and Hong Yi were more unique. Although they were Taoist Yuanda's junior brothers, they had stepped into the crossing tribulation stage earlier than Taoist Yuanda. However, in terms of alchemy, they were far inferior to Taoist Yuanda. The two of them were only 7th-stage alchemists. They had long stopped refining pills and focused on cultivation. Now that a total of 4 crossing tribulation stage cultivators had appeared in this narrow cave, it was a huge pressure for Muyu. Muyu was hiding in an inconspicuous branch on Medicine Master's body. He had already concealed the killing intent in his heart and did not reveal it at all. Qian Shange and Wan Shuiyao were from the 3rd palace. Their cultivation was even stronger than Jin Shiyun's. Now that Muyu had soul power hidden in his body, people from the 3rd palace could already hurt him. Once exposed, he would definitely not be a match for these 4 crossing tribulation stage cultivators. Shi Dangtian, what are you doing here? Medicine Master asked bluntly. Medicine Master's memory had been erased by Muyu. He did not know that these two people were from the 3rd palace. He did not hide the fact that Shi Dangtian had invited these two tribulation passing stage extreme immortals because they were invited by Shi Dangtian to strengthen his power. With these two tribulation passing stage extreme immortals, Shi Dangtian could threaten the other elders of the Danding sect to submit to him. Shi Dangtian revealed a sly smile. "Then what are you doing here, junior brother? This is our cultivation place. Why can't I be here?" "But you actually brought 2 outsiders in." Grandmaster Medicine Master did not retreat. This place was not as simple as an ancient teleportation array. There was also a hidden spirit chi. The teleportation array was built on top of the spirit chi. All the elders of the Pill Cauldron sect with lofty statuses could cultivate here. As the branch master of the Black Rainbow Peak, there was nothing wrong with Grandmaster Medicine appearing here. However, Taoist Hong Yuan shouted. How dare you? Yao Wuji, watch your tone. Qin Shange and Wan Shui Yao are honored guests of our dancing school. How can they be outsiders? Martial uncles, don't forget that even VIPs are prohibited from entering this place. Don't forget the rules of the Pill Cauldron sect for the sake of a so-called distinguished guest. I'm still the branch master of the Pill Cauldron sect's Black Rainbow Peak. I have the right to pursue this matter. Even though Yao Wuji was facing 4 crossing calamity stage cultivators, he was not afraid at all. He was a sensible person. No matter what, he would support Taoist Yundan and would not succumb to Shi Dongtian's threats. Qin Shange, whose cultivation was relatively stronger, slowly walked in front of Yao Wuji and let out a hearty laugh. Grandmaster Medicine, I've been rude. I shouldn't have barged into the forbidden area of the Pill Cauldron sect. I've been disrespectful. Qin Shange spoke with a righteous tone unique to the Sanchong Palace. His voice was also as loud as a bell, making people revere him. However, Yao Wuji did not show any respect to the crossing calamity stage Qin Shange at this juncture. He knew Shi Dongtian's wild ambition and coldly snorted, I don't care if you're an extreme immortal or not. This is the forbidden area of the Pill Cauldron sect. Other than our own elders, no one is allowed to enter. Taoist Hong Yi angrily rebuked, How dare you? Yao Wuji, how dare you speak to our guests like this? I'm the branch master, Yao Wuji coldly said. I think I still have the right to protect the secret of the Pill Cauldron sect. Martial uncles, don't forget your own identity for the sake of outsiders. Bastard, is this how you speak? Taoist Hong Yi and Taoist Hong Yuan still wanted to say something, but Wan Shui Yao, who was behind them, spoke up. Sorry for the offense, Great Master Yao. We'll leave immediately. Wan Shui Yao clasped his hands towards Yao Wuji and walked towards the passage. When he passed by Yao Wuji, his hand suddenly reached out and tapped Yao Wuji's back. With his crossing calamity stage cultivation, Yao Wuji could not resist at all. A white soul power turned into runes and entered Yao Wuji's body. The Sanchong Palace's soul formation. Yao Wuji's body shook and his hands fell to his sides. Yao Wuji, do you know who we are now? Wan Shui Yao stopped and asked. Yao Wuji's eyes lost focus. Then he revealed a respectful expression. Yes, my lord. I've offended you. Please forgive me. Just now in the hall, I didn't attack you because I had some misgivings. I hope you can tell me everything that happened that day. Was it Mu Yu, that traitor of the human clan, who saved you that day? Was Ing Sha Dongji also there that day? How did he kill Jin Xian? Wan Shui Yao asked. Yao Wuji shook his head. It wasn't Mu Yu who did it. It was Zhuge Shaosheng who used the teleportation formation to save us. It was Senior Uncle Yuanda who fought with his life. Also, I don't know who Jin Xian is. I've never seen her. I only saw Priest Tu Yumeng. Lies. Priest Tu Yumeng said that Jin Xian was entangled by someone. That person is most likely Ing Sha Dongji. Qin Shange said from aside. I've never seen Mu Yu. Yao Wuji said again. Qin Shange wanted to say something, but Wan Shui Yao stopped him and shook his head. He's controlled by our soul formation. He can't lie. But I still don't believe it. We sent Priest Tu Yumeng to ambush him. This was done very secretly. How could Zhuge Shaosheng have made such preparations in advance? Qin Shange snorted. Wan Shui Yao looked at the respectful Yao Wuji and said, All right, even if there's something fishy, we won't be able to get anything out of him. Yao Wuji only knows this much. The soul formation that Master controls is flawed. We only have 3 people who can control it. And now that the soul formation has been used on Yao Wuji, this means that we can't control Taoist Yundan anymore. But Yao Wuji is a branch leader of the Dan Cauldron sect. Controlling him is also beneficial. If he agrees to change the sect leader of the Dan Cauldron sect, then it doesn't matter whether we control Taoist Yundan or not. Taoist Yundan will still be forced out by us. Qin Shange said casually. Wan Shui Yao nodded. Speaking of which, the Dan Cauldron sect used to have people whose array techniques were not weaker than Master. They have a rich foundation. Taoist Yundan, as the sect leader, has a powerful array rune protection. We can't control Taoist Yundan. But since we want to remove Taoist Yundan, Yao Wuji's decision is very important. Controlling Yao Wuji can also be considered as removing Taoist Yundan. The two of them originally planned to use the soul formation on Taoist Yundan, but Taoist Yundan was protected by the Dan Cauldron sect's own spell. They couldn't control him, so they had no choice but to control Yao Wuji first. Qian Shange turned to look at Shi Dangtian and said, meaningfully, Shi Dangtian, we didn't control you. We even want to support you to become the sect leader of the Dan Cauldron sect. You better not disappoint us. Shi Dangtian quickly knelt down, his face full of flattery. Masters, please don't worry. I will definitely do my best for you. In the future, the Dan Cauldron sect will belong to you, two masters. I will also listen to the orders of the third palace. The alchemists of the Dan Cauldron sect had a lot of power in the cultivation world. They could call on a group of cultivators to do things for them, using pills to buy favors. As long as they controlled the Dan Cauldron sect, the third palace would be able to do things in the cultivation world without obstruction. No, the Dan Cauldron sect will be yours in the future. Qian Shange said with a smile. Thank you, master. Shi Dangtian bowed his head to the ground. Get up. 7 days later, let's wait for Taoist Yundan to hand over the Dan Cauldron sect leader's throne. At that time, we can come here and integrate the sect leader's array pattern into your body. Qian Shange said as he walked towards the stairs. Wan Shuiyao patted Yao Wuji's shoulder. Go do what you need to do. Don't let anyone notice anything unusual. Go. Yes, master. Yao Wuji's eyes regained a bit of clarity, and he walked towards the water curtain. He came here to cultivate, so naturally, he had to enter the Dan Cauldron sect's sacred land. Shi Dangtian stood up, and when Yao Wuji walked past him, he said with a smile, Junior brother Yao, you have to protect me in the future. Senior brother is right. Yao Wuji nodded. Then his figure stepped into the water curtain and disappeared. The Dan Cauldron sect's ancient teleportation array to the second heaven was built on top of the spiritual Chi. This was inevitable, because the most convenient way to go to another world was through the spiritual Chi. That was the weakest point of the spatial barrier. The Dan Cauldron sect's spiritual Chi was located in this cave, and the ancient and powerful teleportation array was also located here. After confirming that the 5 people outside had left, Muyu quietly formed an array pattern, which merged into the entire cave. After confirming that there were no traps set by Qian Shange and Wan Shuiyao, he revealed himself. Yao Wuji's face was filled with shock and anger. Muyu was silent for a moment, then said, Great Master Yao, now you know the truth. When Wan Shuiyao wanted to use the Divine Soul Array to control Yao Wuji, Muyu had already protected Yao Wuji's meridians in time, not allowing Yao Wuji to be controlled. The Divine Soul Array's main function was the Divine Soul Wood. Muyu could fake the aura of the Divine Soul Wood, plus his array skills were much higher than Wan Shuiyao's, so Wan Shuiyao didn't notice. Just in case, Muyu controlled Yao Wuji while keeping him conscious, making him make a respectful expression. How could this be? Yao Wuji's heart was filled with shock. The words he said just now were all controlled by Muyu. He still couldn't believe it. How could the third palace do such a thing? How could they control our Dan Cauldron sect? I always thought that they were righteous and should lead the human race to fight against Yaman. Yao Wuji felt that his brain couldn't wrap itself around this. But what happened just now was clear. Shi Dangtian said that the Dan Cauldron sect would listen to the orders of the third palace at any time. Muyu was silent for a moment, then asked, Great Master Yao, do you still believe in the word righteousness? There was no longer any righteousness in this world, only lies and deceit. Cruel and unscrupulous Shi Dangtian. How dare he do such a thing? Yao Wuji was shaking with anger. After being controlled, was the Dan Cauldron sect still the Dan Cauldron sect? His heart couldn't calm down for a long time, now that something like this had happened in the Dan Cauldron sect. Even the third palace had infiltrated, Shi Dangtian was still willing to be the third palace's dog. All these facts made Yao Wuji unable to accept. Then the two martial uncles Hong Yuan and Hong Yao Wuji looked up at Mu Yu. They're also being controlled by the divine solar ray, just like how they try to control you. Mu Yu didn't hide anything. Yao Wuji panted, his face turning pale. The two martial uncles are really being controlled. No wonder they would support Shi Dongtian's actions, and even want senior brother Yun Dan to step down. Hong Yuan and Hong were the current tribulation passing experts of the Dan Cauldron sect. If even they were being controlled, it meant that the Dan Cauldron sect had fallen into the hands of the Third Palace and had become their puppet. How could this happen? How could the Third Palace do something like this? Yao Wuji sat on a rock at the side, his mind in a mess. The Third Palace was originally the symbol of justice in everyone's mind, but now they had done something like this. It was unbelievable. When Mu Yu was in the Erase sect, he erased Master Yao's memories because he didn't want to make things difficult for Master Yao, and he didn't want to tell Master Yao about this. But now that the Dan Cauldron sect was involved in the Third Palace's conspiracy, and Master Yao had seen it with his own eyes, this was more convincing than Mu Yu's explanation. Mu Yu, you can control me like they can? Yao Wuji asked. Mu Yu looked apologetic. Yes, I have no ill intentions towards you. I just didn't want to drag you into this. Then my martial uncle Yuanda, is he really dead? Yao Wuji asked in grief and indignation. Mu Yu hesitated for a moment, then stretched out his finger and tapped Yao Wuji's forehead. Yao Wuji's tampered memories gradually returned to Yao Wuji's mind, returning to normal. Martial uncle is fine. That's great, that's great. At least there's still a tribulation stage cultivator in our sect who hasn't been controlled. Yao Wuji finally saw a glimmer of hope. After knowing the truth, he understood what Taoist Yuanda meant to him. I'm sorry, I had to do this to you. If I didn't do this, you would. Mu Yu wanted to explain. Yao Wuji shook his head. No, Mu Yu, you did the right thing. If you didn't do this, I would have told everyone the truth when I came back. I would have messed everything up, and martial uncle Yuanda would have been hunted down again. I should thank you. If Mu Yu didn't control Yao Wuji while retaining his consciousness, Yao Wuji wouldn't have known the truth. Then Mu Yu wouldn't have been able to convince Yao Wuji of the Third Palace's conspiracy. Now that the Dan Cauldron sect is in such a predicament, what should I do? Chapter 900. Yao Wuji raised his head and looked at Mu Yu. Mu Yu, you're a member of the Pill Cauldron sect. You have to help us. I know you're powerful. For Deadwood's sake, you have to help us. I can't watch the Pill Cauldron sect fall into danger. I can't let the Pill Cauldron sect fall into the hands of that bastard Shi Dongtian. Mu Yu looked at Yao Wuji's sincere gaze and hesitated in his heart. Although he had the power to kill now, due to the soul power in his body, the protective effect of blood protection shrouding the heavens had lost part of its protective effect when facing people from the Third Palace. Qian Shange and Wan Shuiyao's cultivation were much higher than his, and he was no match for them. However, the Pill Cauldron sect was Deadwood Daddy's other home. Yao Wuji was also someone Mu Yu respected and Kai Lai's master. He couldn't watch the Pill Cauldron sect be destroyed like this. What he lacked now was cultivation. Without the power of slaughter, his true strength was only at the fourth layer of the body integration stage. Mu Yu, I beg you. Yao Wuji trembled. He knew the truth, but it was so cruel that he couldn't change it. He could only place all his hopes on Mu Yu. I'm not a match for them. My cultivation isn't enough. Mu Yu didn't hide anything. If there was only one person, Mu Yu would have made a move. Now that there were Qian Shange and Wan Shuiyao, as well as Hong Yuan and Hong Yi, it would be difficult for him to gain an advantage. Yao Wuji's eyes dimmed. He sat on the ground dispiritedly and fell into deep despair. Qian Shange and Wan Shuiyao controlled Hong Yuan and Hong Yi. You're the third person controlled. At least the others in the Pill Cauldron sect aren't controlled. Yao Wuji, they said that Cloud Core Taoist has a powerful protective rune in his body, and the rune is here. What does that mean? Mu Yu asked. Grandmaster Alchemy sighed and didn't hide anything. This is a secret of our Danding School. Every Danding School master is protected by the Danding runes. A few thousand years ago, our Pill Cauldron sect had a very powerful ancestor. Not only was he a superb alchemist, His array skills were also very powerful. We respectfully called him Pill Array Immortal Ancestor. Grandmaster Pharmacist glanced at Mu Yu and continued. Just like you, he knows how to use powerful array formations and alchemy skills. It was he who used this spirit chi to build the teleportation array to the second layer of heaven. Not only that, because the combat power of us alchemists is low, in order to prevent the sect head from being controlled, the successive sect heads would be protected by the sacred ground's pill veins after succeeding. This pill pattern is extremely powerful and is also the core of the entire Pill Cauldron sect's protective array formation. It has protected our Pill Cauldron sect from being invaded for thousands of years. Where are the pill veins? Mu Yu asked. Grandmaster Pharmacist pointed at the sealed teleportation array in the middle of the cave and said, although this is the Pill Cauldron sect's secret, you are the successor of Senior Brother Kumu. It is understandable that you know this. The pill veins are in this teleportation array. This teleportation array doesn't only lead to the second layer of heaven. There's also a hidden array formation domain in this cave. Array formation domain? Mu Yu was taken aback. He cast his eyes on the teleportation array and then scanned the entire cave. Except for the faint fluctuations of array patterns flowing out of the teleportation array, he didn't sense any other array formation domain. Yao Wuji seemed to have thought of something. Suddenly, his face gradually regained its color and became very excited. That's right. That's right. How could I have forgotten about this? You are an array master. You could try to obtain the Pill Array Immortal's inheritance. As long as you can obtain his inheritance, then you might be able to save our Pill Cauldron sect. Yao Wuji stood up excitedly and looked at Mu Yu eagerly. The Pill Array Immortal's inheritance? Mu Yu was not very clear about this person. However, he was certain that he was not a qualified alchemist. Yes, the Pill Array Immortal left behind powerful alchemy and array techniques. Unfortunately, alchemists have always looked down on array masters. They also looked down on array techniques, and no one practiced them. Now, it is too late for us to learn. The ancient array techniques are different from the current ones. We can't understand them at all. Therefore, we can't obtain the Pill Array Immortal's inheritance. However, you might be able to because you are Kumu's disciple. Yao Wuji became more and more excited as he spoke. It was as if he was grasping at a life-saving straw. Ancient array techniques? Mu Yu knew that many of the ancestors' things have been lost. The ancient array techniques were the same. He only came here to study this teleportation array. However, if he were to learn the ancient array techniques, he might have to spend a lot of effort. However, Yao Wuji did not understand these things. He still looked at Mu Yu with hope and said, no one in our Pill Cauldron sect knows array techniques. Even Shi Dingtian did not grasp the surface of the Pill Array Immortal's array techniques. The most powerful thing about the Pill Array Immortal was that he could combine alchemy and array techniques. His array techniques could allow pills to display powerful effects in another strange way. The pill explosion was invented by him. I heard that using array techniques, one could use the pill explosion to display a terrifying power. I don't know the details, but I think you can give it a try. Combining pill explosion and array techniques? Mu Yu was stunned. Wasn't it the array technique used by Deadwood Daddy? Then, he thought about how Deadwood's father, who was an alchemist, could have such a powerful array technique. Could it be that his array techniques were inherited from the Pill Array Immortal? Come with me. Yao Wuji pulled Mu Yu and flew towards the teleportation array. After the two of them landed on the teleportation array, a complicated array pattern appeared in Yao Wuji's hand. He seemed to have only memorized a hand gesture and did not know how to use array techniques. Following Yao Wuji's hand gesture, the array pattern emerged from the teleportation array under their feet. A bright light shot out from the teleportation array. Mu Yu felt his body being pulled violently by someone. He had already entered an empty space. Array technique domain. This time, Mu Yu was really shocked, because this was indeed the aura of the array technique domain. This place seemed to be at the peak of a mountain. Immortal chi surged and white clouds floated. And the place they were in was a vast field. Beneath their feet was a pattern of the 8 trigrams, slowly flowing. Not far in front of them, there was a huge pill cauldron. It was 3,000 feet tall, majestic and magnificent, and it was covered with all kinds of golden array patterns. The pill cauldron sect exuded a vast and ancient aura. It was vast and righteous, as if it was the purest divine object in the world. It was simple and majestic, causing one's mind to be clear. Muyu remembered this pill cauldron. When he first came to the pill cauldron sect, he saw this huge pill cauldron. At that time, he thought that the pill cauldron sect was really rich. They actually spent a lot of money to build a 300 feet tall pill cauldron. If they had money, they could spend it anywhere else. At that time, Kailai wanted to introduce the origin of this pill cauldron, saying that it was used to suppress the luck of the pill cauldron sect. However, Deadwood Daddy used the excuse of Muyu has heard of the origin of this pill cauldron to interrupt Kailai's introduction. He did not want Muyu to appear as if he did not know anything. Later on, Deadwood Daddy forgot to introduce the pill cauldron to Muyu. He did not expect that Muyu would see a huge pill cauldron that was exactly the same as the one outside. This pill cauldron's aura is connected to the pill cauldron outside our pill cauldron sect. I don't know if Deadwood has introduced it to you before. It protects the pill cauldron sect from external enemies. Our pill cauldron sect's alchemists are not very strong, but with the protection of this ruins opening cauldron, even a few hundred tribulation passing stage self-cultivators would not be able to force their way in, Yao Wuji said proudly. However, when he thought of the predicament the pill cauldron sect was in, his face darkened again. No matter how strong the protection was, it would not be able to stop a spy like Shi Dangtian. Our elders usually come here to cultivate. This pill cauldron's founder is named Ruins Opening. As the sect leader, senior brother Yundan is protected by the Ruins Opening cauldron. There's almost no danger to his life. However, if he is forced to give up the position of sect leader, he will have to destroy the pill markings in his body. When that happens, he will most likely die. Yao Wuji sighed. Ruins Opening Cauldron. This was the first time you had heard of this name. Now he finally understood why Qian Shange and Wan Shuiyao had come here. They probably wanted to deal with this Ruins Opening Cauldron. However, the power of the Ruins Opening Cauldron was not something these two could touch. Yao Wuji continued. The spiritual energy here is very rich. Cultivating here can achieve twice the results with half the effort. Pill Array Immortal Patriarch said that anyone who is fated can enter the Ruins Opening Cauldron to cultivate. After experiencing the forging of the Ruins Opening Cauldron, they will naturally have a good fortune. So far, it seems that only Deadwood is fated with the Ruins Opening Cauldron. He went in once, but did not tell us what was inside. So I think, as Deadwood's disciple, you should also be fated with the Ruins Opening Cauldron. Yao Wuji had high hopes for Muyu. Deadwood Daddy really has been here before? Muyu hesitated for a moment before leaping high into the air. He and Yao Wuji landed at the edge of the cauldron. The entire mouth of the cauldron was covered by a layer of mysterious runes, making it impossible to see what was inside. At a glance, the inside of the cauldron seemed to be a colorful world. It also seemed as if something was burning inside, making it unimaginable. Try stepping in. If you are fated with it, it will let you in. Yao Wuji had already stepped into the ruins. He could not enter because he did not have the recognition of a Ruins Opening Cauldron. However, he firmly believed that Muyu could do it. After all, out of so many people, only Deadwood was able to enter. Yao Wuji firmly believed that Muyu could do it too. Yao Wuji looked at Muyu hopefully, hoping that Muyu could enter the Ruins Opening Cauldron. Muyu was silent for a long time. Then, she took a step forward and stepped on the runes. The runes trembled like water ripples, creating waves of ripples. Then, the ripples gradually calmed down and disappeared. Like Yao Wuji, the runes did not react. Chapter 901. How can this be? How can this be? Muyu, You're Ku Mu's disciple. When he stepped on the formation runes, he disappeared before our eyes. You should have disappeared before my eyes, too. Why are you still standing here? You should have been acknowledged by the ruins opening cauldron. Yao Wuji looked at the formation runes beneath his feet unwillingly. I have no fate with the ruins opening cauldron because I am not a pure alchemist. Mu Yu shook his head. No. Ku Mu is also not a pure alchemist. Something must have gone wrong somewhere. Yes, Shi Dengtian must have done something just now. It must be unforgivable. I will kill him. Yao Wuji roared angrily and was about to rush outside when Mu Yu stopped him. Great alchemist, the ruins opening cauldron is very powerful. It is not something that a petty person like Shi Dengtian can do. It is because I have not been acknowledged by the ruins opening cauldron. It was Mu Yu's first time seeing the usually steady and polite great alchemist lose his composure like this. Yao Wuji's entire person seemed to collapse. His face was ashen. I thought you could do it. You have been acknowledged by the ruins opening cauldron and received its inheritance. You can save our Dan Cauldron sect. But why? Why? Do the heavens really want our Dan Cauldron sect to perish? Yao Wuji's expression was haggard. His usually meticulously combed hair was now a mess. The spiritual energy in his body was restless, and his emotions were on the verge of collapse. The survival of the Dan Cauldron sect, the safety of Taoist Yundan, Taoist Yuanda had lost his memories. The two tribulation stage elders were controlled by the Triple Palace, and the treacherous Shi Dengtian was about to take control of the Dan Cauldron sect. Everyone would live in a lie and grovel at Shi Dengtian's feet. Yao Wuji could not accept this. He really could not accept this. He hoped that Mu Yu could save the Dan Cauldron sect from this abyss of suffering. But Mu Yu's cultivation level was not high enough, and he could not receive the inheritance of the ruins opening cauldron. All hope was lost. Mu Yu looked at Yao Wuji, who was about to collapse. He squatted down and patted Yao Wuji's shoulder. Great alchemist, you are the only sensible person in the Dan Cauldron sect. You cannot fall. Once you fall, the Danny school will also fall. Do you understand? Yao Wuji smiled bitterly. In the current situation, what difference does it make whether I fall or not? There is a difference. If even he had lost hope in himself, then there would be no turning back. I will definitely help you. I will kill Shi Dengtian. This is what I have always wanted to do. You can trust me, Mu Yu said seriously. But your cultivation level is not high enough. You are Deadwood's disciple. If you don't have the confidence to deal with them, I can't send you to your death. Grandmaster Medicine sighed. Mu Yu took a deep breath and said, It's not that I'm not fated with the cauldron. It's just that I can't calm down. Give me some time. Don't lose hope. He slowly walked to the center of the cauldron and sat down cross-legged. Mu Yu knew why the cauldron didn't recognize him. He was an array master and was different from Yao Wuji. Mu Yu could feel the powerful array pattern ripples from the cauldron and knew the state of the cauldron. There was a powerful repulsive force resisting him. It was resisting the killing power and soul power in his body. His entire body was filled with a thick killing aura, and there was uncontrollable soul power in his meridians. These two auras were the complete opposite of the vast aura of the cauldron. The cauldron rejected these two auras and didn't allow Mu Yu to enter the cauldron. Mu Yu could understand the rejection of the killing power, but Mu Yu didn't think that the cauldron would reject soul power as well. It seemed to see soul power as a kind of evil power and didn't allow soul power to exist. However, after thinking about it, Mu Yu understood. The holy appearance of the three palaces hid an ugly face. Their soul power came from the dead, and they used the dead as their power. How could this kind of power be accepted in front of the vast and simple cauldron? This was probably why Qian Shange and Wan Shuiyao couldn't enter the cauldron. Whether it was the killing power or the holy soul power, they were all dirty and insignificant in front of the majestic aura of the cauldron. No wonder when I returned to the Array sect, I felt that the Array Hall was rejecting me. Mu Yu pondered. When he brought everyone into the Array Hall, he felt a faint repulsive force from the Array Hall. However, because he had the chaotic yin and yang in his body, he didn't care about that repulsive force. In Mu Yu's opinion, The opening cauldron was definitely not an ordinary item. It should be an ancient existence on the same level as the Array Sex Array Hall and Array Glyph Stone. If the Array Hall and Array Glyph Stone could block the master of the three palaces, by Jia, then the opening cauldron could do the same. However, how to enter the opening cauldron became a problem. In the beginning, the opening cauldron wanted to accept Mu Yu, but after discovering the two dirty powers in his body, it instantly rejected him. If Mu Yu wanted to enter the opening cauldron, he had to find a way to remove these two powers. However, if he removed the killing power, what would he use to resist the three palaces? Mu Yu was silent. He relied heavily on the killing power. This power made him strong and was more than enough to kill the people of the three palaces, but it also made him cold. "Little Commander, what should I do?" Mu Yu asked. Little Commander scratched his head. "I don't know. That depends on your choice. The killing power is what I rely on to resist the three palaces. However, it is also affecting your temperament. The killing power is not something fun." Little Commander jumped into the runes above the opening cauldron. He extended his small claw and tapped the runes under his feet. The runes rippled and emitted a melodious sound. "By the way, Mu Yu, how long has it been since you last calmed down?" Little Commander asked thoughtfully. "Calm down? Didn't you need to calm down when cultivating the Dustfall mantra? Right now, you're always haunted by killing and your heart is filled with killing intent. You're unable to calm down. I remember someone telling me that the falling dust mantra can allow a person to be completely focused. Perhaps if you calm down and think about it, you'll be able to make the right choice." Little Commander rubbed his head. Mu Yu closed his eyes and circulated the Dustfall mantra. His heart gradually calmed down. The black and white spirit power in his body maintained a strange state as it slowly circulated. His entire body was filled with killing intent. It was not only in his meridians, but also in every inch of his skin. It was as if he was a tool of slaughter. He enjoyed the killing aura, but he forced himself to hate it. Only by doing so could he not sink into it. What should he do? Mu Yu's thoughts traveled through time and space. His memories returned to many years ago. At that time, he had just stepped into the cultivation world. He was still an ignorant youth. He lived a simple life in the Dustfall Mountain that stood aloof from worldly affairs. He had an easygoing master and close senior brothers and sisters. He also had the two naughty Kong Kong and Meow Meow. At that time, he did not need to care about the good and evil in the world. All he knew was the mysterious swordsmanship. At that time, he did not know that the swordsmanship he learned was the unparalleled 9 heavenly sword guides. The most powerful swordsmanship in the cultivation world was in his hands. But now he seemed to have gradually forgotten the 9 heavenly sword guides. That should have been his strongest reliance, but he had given up on his original belief and relied on the power of slaughter. Mu Yu took a deep breath and stood up. His shadow swords flashed as he began to practice the 9 heavenly sword guides. The first move of the 9 heavenly sword guides, falling leaves swirling around the sky, pursuing stillness in motion. Second style of 9 heaven sword guides, sweeping chi and falling dust, gathering chi and breaking spirit, chi and spirit return to dust. The third style of a 9 draws heavenly sword, falling sword returning horse. The sword falls without form, and the will is in the heart. The fourth style of the 9 draws of the heavenly sword, falling star sword, starlight sword shadow, shadow concealment. The fifth style of the 9 heavenly sword draws, falling dragon roars to the sky. The sixth style of the 9 heavenly sword draws, falling wind sweeps the moon. When the sword rises, the wind rushes and the moon falls from the 9 heavens. The seventh style of the 9 heavenly sword draws, mysterious thunder falls. Tao gives birth to all things, and thunder palm is the law. The eighth style of the 9 guides of the heavenly sword, vanishing falling shadows. 10,000 shadows return to 1, vanishing shadows. The ninth style of the 9 draws heavenly sword. 9 return to 1. Great Tao simplicity, return to simplicity. Mu Yu's footwork was extremely profound. He stepped on the runes of the Kai, Su cauldron, like a dragonfly, skimming the surface of the water. His figure also moved with the shadow swords. His entire person had already fused with the sword intent. His heart became incomparably tranquil. He did not know when, but he was no longer so deeply immersed in the 9 guides of the heavenly sword. Now, when he picked up the 9 heavenly sword guides again, he realized that he had not personally practiced the 9 sword moves for a long time. Usually, when he moved, the shadow swords would automatically evolve into sword moves, reaching a state where they could be moved according to his heart. But when he was moved, his body became rusty. The initial things were always so easily forgotten. The shadow swords in Mu Yu's hand gradually rotated to the last style. It was the simplest style, but also the most powerful one. When the sword stabbed out, it transformed into thousands of illusions. Thousands of swords merged into one style. It seemed to be full of flaws, but it was unstoppable. Wong. Vast sword chi flowed out of Mu Yu's body, condensing at the tip of the shadow swords. It seemed to pierce through the void, shatter the galaxy, and destroy all things. But at the moment when the sword chi was about to burst out from the tip of the sword, Mu Yu suddenly condensed his breath. He dispersed all the sword chi, returning it to its origin. His sword chi had already reached a state where he could freely retract and release it. The shadow swords hummed softly. One sword transformed into 9 swords, flashing around Mu Yu. The sword chi was vast and expansive, and the breath was melodious. There was no extra breath mixed in. He slowly exhaled the turbid breath in his heart. He was extremely surprised because this time his sword chi already had the original aura of endless vitality. There was no murderous breath in it, as if everything had returned to normal. His sword chi had returned to its original essence. It was full of vitality and was endless. It was like a flowing life force, causing people to jump for joy. How long has it been since I felt like this? Mu Yu sighed. After the nether grass life energy and death energy entered his body, his sword energy lost its original vitality and lost its own characteristics. Just like Qingyan's sword was mature and steady, Luo Shang's sword was hot-blooded, Xiang Nan's sword was thick and powerful. Mu Yu's sword had always been full of vitality. But recently, every time he attacked, his sword chi was full of murderous intent, like the god of death. He wanted to obtain the pleasure of killing, which had long gone against his original intention. Killing wasn't my intention. I was too stubborn. You're tuning in to the Warrior Lore YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.